Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm here with Larry. It's a weird day. Hey Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you?
It is what a year. It's weird to be at the end of it.
What do you mean? I mean, it's been a wonderful year. I mean, it's so many highlights, so many wonderful shiny things. Very this year is, as they say, fire. As
Yeah,
as the kids say, right? Yeah, because
some
many
fire.
cities
Yeah, yeah.
decided to, like it's so crazy. This year was so fire. Cities just burned down for no good reason. Just like, oh, I'm like, oh my God, 2020 is so great. Boof,
That's right.
flames.
If you remember, like we started this year off with like, oh man, Australia's on fire. That's the worst possible thing that could possibly happen this year, and it showed us. So that was awesome. Thanks, 2020, and go fuck yourself.
It's one of those better you than me, and it's like, wait, no, not me, not me.
Yeah, exactly.
But
What a
it's been
crazy
fun.
time.
It's been fun to survive. It's like one of those things. It's like the haunted. It's like the ride never ends. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, I look at it this way: we have a wonderful group of people here that you have cultivated by not giving in to the temptations. I, for one, will give you a round of applause, unsarcastic applause, because you have. I remember when you started streaming, it's like, let me give you money. Let me give you money. People want to throw money at you. And you're like, no. Like,
No. I don't.
We don't have to be this way.
No super chats. No, it's all good. It's been fun. I think the people who have stuck with all this have been great, and I've had a chance to talk to a lot of great people. I feel like half hungover already. I'm just like, I am in a tired mood. It is the last day of work. It's all drinking and downhill from here, but it's wonderful to have you on, Larry. We've been doing a lot of stuff this year, and it's a cool time. And then also, well, here's the cheat of it. So I want to give a huge congratulations to Wes over at Thinking Critical. He passed 10,000 subscribers earlier today, and
congrats, Wes.
It's great. He deserves it. He puts a ton of work into that channel, and he was screwed around by Google pretty consistently all year. Not all year, but a good portion of it. And I'm glad that that seemed to resolve. And so much a tip of the hat to Wes. And like so it's a bit of a cheat. Things are delayed. So what I can say is inside of my dashboard, I see him currently at 10,002 subscribers. So it did nurse right over the line. It doesn't look like it's updated everywhere, but that's also insane. Only in 2020, this dumpster fire of a year, would this many people want to listen to my nonsense?
Well, how about this? 2 people, go ahead and subscribe now, so you can or 3 people. There you go. So you have the milestone again and again and again.
Right. Yes. If you guys could just keep unsubscribing, the resubscribe, it would be great. I am convinced that at least 1,000 of those subscribers are these I am single people who show up in the comments. I don't know. Why is it that YouTube, like, it will track, like I feel so bad. Like there's a guy in the held for review, the spam kind of filter that YouTube gives you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, I've just got a comic here that I'd love everybody to check it out. It's right here. It's free. If anybody wants to look at it, you can just download it right here. He puts that. YouTube catches that and safely blocks that from everyone else's view. But they go ahead and let through the 5,000 I am single, need lovely kind of comments. I don't get it.
Anyway. Well, maybe the algorithm gets serviced by the bots. Maybe that's the thing. It's like I'm sorry. The algorithm is the roadie. It's like, oh, you can't get to see the band unless you give me a little something on the side. Come on, honey.
It is absolutely crazy, but it has been a crazy year. It's been way too many videos. Spoiler: there's less videos coming in 2021. We're moving at least back down to 2 a day. I mean, at least going to 2 a day. 3 a day is stupid insanity. But I hope everybody appreciated the little sarcastic gag of the variant cover videos earlier today.
You made me think I was having either, I don't want to say a stroke or a brain aneurysm or something, but I had autoplay on because I think most people do have never disabled it. And I'd, listen while I'm working on the project. And I'm like, wait a second, why is that? What? I thought I already heard this. I'm like, wait, is this like some weird deja vu? And I've had deja vu encounters in the past, or like, wait, I've dreamt of this, or wait, this already happened. And I'm like, wait a second. And it was like, I'm like, oh, you SOB. I got you. I got your number, man. And I'm like, I actually started laughing out loud out of the sheer insanity of someone to do this, because I guarantee I've never come across it. I've to my knowledge, never come across it, but also I could brain damage, so I don't know.
I like playing with. I mean, at some point, it feels like this stuff's not really allowed on YouTube, but I like to screw that. But anyway, I've had amazing people who helped support me through this year, and I really appreciate that. I love how it's also confused a lot of people. Like, I know that people do not know is he aligned with this group or that group. They're continually confused. I've got a video coming up. I'm posting some of the hate mail that I get, and it's so hilarious because all over the map. It's like, you're on this side, you're on that side. It's so amusing in so many ways. But anyway,
I have a question for you first. Very important question. I think everybody in especially the one person that downvoted us. More downvotes, people. More downvotes.
You gotta
send us your hate. We feed upon it.
Everybody, smash that downvote button. That's what works.
I want to. Here's an important question. I think the question on everybody's minds, whether you're Comicsgate, this, that, whatever, anti-Comicsgate, pro, anti-pro, whatever.
Yeah.
How does that gate? How does that fence between your legs feel?
Nice. Yes.
I see that a lot. Like, you're a fence sitter, and I'm like,
it's weird. I mean, I just like comics, and there's people in all the gates that like comics. I mean, there's people on this gate that likes comics, and the other gate there's other people. And as long as somebody's liking comics, I can find alignment. The rest of this stuff just is crazy. So that's all.
Honestly, I get along with most people. I mean, that's how you approach things. Like, maybe they're having a bad day, give them a benefit of the doubt usually. But if it's just constantly this, like, sounds like some kind of robotic drone, like, oh, you're one of those Nazis, or you're one of those blue hair, this kind of thing. All of it's terrible. But I think there's a community that you have grown, and or at least people come around. Maybe we'll see where he stands. Yeah. And well, you look at like, oh, he's a lefty. Oh, he's a righty. He's hanging out with him. No, it's like, I am who I am. It's like easy slap on a patch like this.
It's not that hard. It's like it's people who like comics. If you like comics, it's all good. I mean, it doesn't have to be that much more complicated than that. But people find, but it's all good anyway. And yes, to Joe's point, most people are awful. Either way, like, there's plenty of assholes. That's well said.
The world is filled with assholes. Like, I'm one of those. I try to be positive. I think sometimes I overuse the word hope. I hope things work out. Somebody called me out of that, and I'm like, wait, who's? Okay, I actually thought about this person. They actually called me out. I'm like, you are cheating on your wife. You abuse alcohol. You admit that you abuse alcohol. That you need to, probably seek help on this. And then you tell me you use hope too much. I'm like, wow, you're just a drag.
Too much hope.
And there's too much hope. I'm like, no, there ain't too much hope in the world. But I do think I think the worst in people. I don't like. I know you've said, like, you want to.
I do too.
Teach kids.
I generally assume everybody's an asshole. That's what I do.
I think so too. It's like, be standoffish to a degree. Like, don't put faith in, don't like a blind faith. Like, put like there's certain people out there that are worth your time, that are worth, and also like comics too. It's like where I see a comic, I'm like, yeah, it looks great. Like, there was a comic from 2011, and I know you may have, because I think it would probably be popular in your area. Remember the comic from Image, Non-Player?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, the one that actually had 2 issues come out in like 10 years. It wasn't the first issue. It was one of these front-loaded. For those that don't know, it was a comic about basically Ready Player One. I think actually before the book came out. But basically, a guy who's living in a virtual world. It's like a D&D, World of Warcraft kind of thing. Going in and had all this praise. Mobius praised it. All these one issue, and then there's like, I think the next issue didn't come out until like 2018. So but it's an Image book, so of course that would happen with the Image book.
No. It's like I said, it's a crazy time, and I think I just try and, if you want to talk comics, I'm good. It's all good. I posted earlier this comics are for everyone. They are for everyone. I think they're out there. They're for everyone. Somebody came in and retweeted like, but they're not for racists, and it's like, sure, but this is the way I view it. Like,
I've seen some comics though. I've seen some comics out there.
Why are you drawing the line at comics? Like, if you have these terrible people out there, you can do everything else. You can work in my company. You can, I'll hire you. You can do my gardening, everything else, but not comics. Comics is where I'm drawing the line. Like the whole thing is weird to me. But anyway,
everybody needs to be purity tested, right? Everybody needs to be purity
all around.
It's like the comics. You read some of those old comics, the underground stuff that they were putting out in San Francisco and in the head shops and all that stuff. There's some stuff in there, not just content. Very like, oh, that's misogynistic. Oh, that's racist. Like, you look at some of the R. Crumb stuff where the classical, like the Sambo depictions, the big lips, dark skin, big eyes, all that stuff, buck teeth. And you have some other, and then you have content where, this woman's decapitated and there's weird stuff going on. And there's a lot of strange content in those comics. And you can look at it with the modern sensibilities, like, oh my God, the most horrifying thing ever. Mm-hmm. And it's like, he's one of the more celebrated figures. Most people these days only know about the bad creators. Your 2021 terrible creator, future alumni, Teeny Howard. No, I'm joking, of course.
Just try, try not to be an asshole to other people. Do your best, treat people fairly, and that life we'll just try and move from there. But this is comics. Hey, there's some questions for us. We'll try to do the questions too. Is Prophet the greatest comic ever created? Well, yeah, for sure, absolutely. Greatest comic creator ever created. What happened to Prophet, by the way? And
Prophet, he ran like 8 issues.
Yeah.
You had the amazing hot talent artist that was Stephen Platt getting paid all this money.
Yep.
Basically unprepared artist. He was young out of the gate, had no, it's like he was the Dirk Diggler. Yeah, very big where it counted, but didn't have the staying power when it's like, I'm ready to go now. And the character didn't last that long until Brandon Graham, which a lot of people hate Brandon Graham these days, both for whatever reason. I quite enjoyed his Prophet run, that kind of weirdly Eastern, but with a little bit of that European style comic take on post-apocalyptic wasteland hero, kind of Fallout, Mad Max, kind of that thing going on. Good stuff. I don't even know where the rights are these days because of the whole, Liefeld running around. Yeah, I own all this. And it turns out he didn't. He was just, he was a poser. He didn't even own like Youngblood. It was that terrific LLC guy, Andrew Rev.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, good business to get in bed with that guy.
Can't get the industry band together to get that guy gone. Like we're wasting our time with like these people with random screen names and like Batman avatars. Like we're letting Andrew Rev run around. Like, come on.
2020 was a year of there was a lot of deaths in 2020, of course, with all the things going on, but there's career deaths too. Bye Cameron Stewart, bye Warren Ellis.
Yeah, that was sad to see. Well, we're gonna get to some of those things, but it was a year of it was a tumultuous year. I haven't. So Lane, I haven't not read Death Metal this last 52 yet. It's sitting here. It's ready. I've been just trying to power through everything, so tomorrow could be an easier day. That's why we're having a stream on a Wednesday, so we can it can be just a nice day of getting drunk and embarrassing my daughters by falling asleep on the couch.
I'm getting drunk on power because I'm just
okay. There you go.
There you go. It's I'm not a teetotaler by any means. I just know that I have the potential in my genes to be a full blown alcoholic, and where the alcoholic to being the point where I've had members of my family, no, I'm okay, plastered drunk but still driving on the road, where you physically have to fight them to get the keys away from them to stop them. And having a couple of them eventually physically hurt themselves, thankfully nobody else, and one of them killed themselves. Well, he was still alive, but they parted him out. Like he was a very bad guy. For a cousin of mine, drugs, alcohol. Girlfriend broke up with him. He was mainly drunk, but there's a lot of other things in the system. But it could only harvest like some of his organs. He's an organ donor because everything else is just damaged from all the years of drug abuse. He was only in his mid-20s. So like drugs, comics are addictive enough for me. Stacks of hardcovers and everything. That's my addiction.
I'm with you. I respect that choice. I'm having an old fashioned. I respect mainly because I like to mess with the orange peel, but it's a nice good drink. It goes down well. But I definitely think you're wise. Steer the way you can control.
I would have some nice Japanese whiskey with you.
Yeah,
like, make it certain special things.
One day we're on it. Yeah.
Yes, that's going to be a guarantee. I'll let
Okay.
you pay for it. $60 a bottle.
I would say, oh, $60, my friend. That's the cheap stuff.
Oh, there you go. That's right. It was like the $900 bottle stuff or whatever it is. Like this costs more. Like for a drink, a glass costs more than my first car.
I was at a dinner. I think I mentioned this before in Japan, where they're like it's $500 an inch of Wagyu steak, and where they open up bottles of whiskey and sake that were every bottle's over 1,000, and I was not paying for it, thankfully, so that was good. But it's crazy stuff. The world, you can blow money in a hurry. Hey, questions. Am I going to interview Tamaki? I would interview Tamaki in a heartbeat. I'd love to get these other sides of the story, because usually there is a good side to the story. And I think 9 times out of 10, you talk to these people and you find good common ground, and everybody lightens up a little bit. I mean, that Thorne interview, I thought was like, I walked away feeling like there was some good done of trying to bring some people together. And so I'd interview anyone. Now, I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't come near me, but I would happily interview everybody. And I'm sure Tamaki has probably a pretty interesting story, I would suspect. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be interesting, because that's the thing. You actually have like pretty much an open, it seems like a very open-minded, take on whoever these people are, like whoever they happen to be, what their personas might be, what they've done. It's like, hey, let's just talk. We might not have anything to agree on, but let's give it a chance. This idea, it's like you're not closed-minded in that regard. Well,
it's not just, it's just Twitter is shit for you. You can't get your point across very easily, and it's very easy to get misinterpreted. It's very easy to want to come off sarcastic. I've got things that irritate me, like LOL. When people put LOL in things, I always think that I don't know why. It's a trigger. No, that's way too strong. But I always read that as being very sarcastic. So I'm like, LOL yourself, asshole. And then, but as soon as you're in that mode, then you've lost. You're not communicating anymore. You're just trying to dunk on each other. And so I talking things out's way better in my view. Hey, Badre, yes, I will do comic analysis for old comics, like the pre-2000 stuff. You bet. Larry and Joe and I actually did a really nice long retrospective of New X-Men. I'm in it's like 2.5 hours, so it's taken forever to cut.
But which is a lot of fun. Which is a lot of fun to do. Thank you for having me on that.
Oh, of course, it's a lot of fun. I think you'll like it. We go through Grant Morrison, but to accompany that's going to go out, and then like right next to it, I did the numbers analysis for X-Men. We'll take a peek at that in a minute, actually.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah,
I'm much curious about this, because that's one of those things. Your perspective, your kind of not this nostalgic view, but like the assumption, like with the Ultimates video, the very enlightening Ultimates video you did, where I assumed, and you never should, because you make an ass out of you and me and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but when it came to that Ultimates run, I was expecting 250,000 like each copy, because this is really 1,000. No,
it was a lot lower than that. Yeah, it was surprising.
Yeah, I was like, but steady though, very steady. I think that's honestly to me is more impressive than the numbers. I'm like, okay, the numbers weren't there, but 100,000 like pretty much flat. Good gracious, that's like they would kill for that these days.
Despite taking twice as long, and it was never the number one comic ever.
I guarantee you though, if they had done they've done now, where the artist is slow, let's swap them out. I mean, even if you were to get the closest person to Brian Hitch would be the Alan Davis, who Brian Hitch kind of aped, his style off of and took into a different direction, of course. But that Genesis, it would not be the same. And I think that hurts when you're reading it as something like Ultimates Volume 1.
True.
13 issues, boom. Like you're reading a complete story. Yes, there was the Ultimates War with the X-Men. That was kind of terrible. I love Bacalo usually to a point in his career, and I was like, okay, this is a mess with Miller and everything. It was just not a very well told story visually as well as written. It was kind of just. I think that's like when Miller was kind of getting out of Dodge when it came to the Ultimate stuff. Sure. It was around before Bendis took over Ultimate X-Men.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, you did have that sense of, you can kind of tell when some of the creators are on their way out. The whole method just changes in it. But a couple questions. Atomic Hound, is Tomasi, Venditti, and Williamson out at DC? This is a good question. I've been told no, but I may be being lied to, so I don't know. again, my biggest complaint about DC right now is one that is different, I think, from a lot of other people, which is, show your hand. Like, you guys have a bunch of plans. I've heard a lot of things in the background of some really amazing things that you have going on. It's time to put your cards on the table a little bit, because people are losing confidence rapidly. And so if you're saving for stuff for April, like maybe, do that old trick where you just put like a comic with a silhouette and say, hey, Venditti's on this mystery thing. You'll find out in April. Like, you need to tease a little bit more. It's like tumbleweeds. Your marketing department's all gone home. You got to
promotion is dead in comics, and it's a
sure.
shame, because if you have 30, 40 years ago, when you had comics, you had Comics Buyer's Guide and Comics Journal wouldn't touch them probably, but other stuff along those lines, or even in-house ads, like you can have like coming soon, like whatever, like you do like little coming attractions, and you could promote stuff. And now you have social media. They could buy
tools,
ad run or on YouTube videos, what have you.
Yeah,
and like get the name out there. But the fact that they won't do that, and they don't communicate with each other, even though like communication now, you can hop on any app and talk with somebody face to face. You can text. You can nobody's really talking to each other. Nobody's putting these ads out. I mean, you have interns putting them out, but one of the reasons I think a lot of this stuff sucks is because they're getting these interns that potential for jobs, not necessarily guarantees and stuff. Ain't no real creative drive behind it. Like, I was thinking about that. Really, it was cheesy. I don't know if you remember this. It was a promo ad, it's a house ad for the Ray series over at DC, when he had it was a promo, it was almost like a cologne ad, or a Calvin Klein ad or something, but with the Ray, the character, the Ray. And so it was a photo promo, like stuff like that won't even get nowhere near that, or the classic Fall of the Mutants promo, like Marvel used to do, like
something, anything
would be better. Like, it could be like this. This character came into her life and ruined anything. Like, give us anything better than nothing. It's like, and where's the head, the Mr. I'm gonna connect everybody because of online gaming, esports. He's nowhere.
That's exactly it. So that's I think Daniel Cherry. There are a lot of comments about him and what he was or wasn't or any of that. And I know that Michelle Wells and a lot of her YA books are still coming out even after she's gone, and it's hard to tell what started where or any of that. So it's hard for me to say what's got whose fingerprints on it. But what I can say, or what I think we can see very definitively, is the marketing. Like, you had one job, kind of. You have many jobs, but you really had one job. The marketing is like, somebody quick, like the patient is dying on the table. You need to come out and set the record straight. To kind of
Evans could as well, right? She could pop in and like, hey,
anybody,
we got this going on. I think what's happening is they are put in these positions like, hey, you have this kind of, but they were put in there with zero idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I
think a lot of people are scared because there's been this, people have kind of gone into business for themselves and like tried to promote stuff, and they get their hands slapped for it. So then now nobody wants to, like Kirkman,
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, Kirkman was the last one. Like, it was one of those things. Like, just like with the image creators, like that you've seen, like ever since Lee, McFarlane, Liefeld, the rest of them left. You saw what they did. It's like when the Midsummer's Night's Dreams issue of Sandman won that literary award. They closed the barn door after the horse. It's like there was that Comics Confidential documentary History Channel did, where it's like Neil Gaiman talking about how it's like closing the barn door once the horse got out and won the Kentucky Derby. It's the same thing. Like they pushed in, they kind of pushed the power of the artist away in Marvel and even DC, because the whole DC meeting, which is interesting. That was one that's never been really covered that well. Like, none of us work for you, but we're not going to work for you, except one of them eventually. Yeah. like Jim Lee's like.
No, enough time passes and everybody finds they go back on what they say. I think
exactly. But I think that's the issue, though. That's the issue.
To this, I think Tomasi still has his digital book that's going out right now. There's another one out this week. Venditti is still claiming he's got a dream project at DC coming up, and Williamson is part of he does have stories in the Infinite Frontier, the one shot. So he's very much involved. So they're there. But I guess like I said, we'll see. Ron asks, is it true the Silver Surfer was lost in a bet? That's an old joke. No, it's not a joke. This was an argument in my comic shop a long time ago that the Silver Surfer was a DC property and that he was lost in a bet to Marvel, and that's how he came to Marvel. And it's complete garbage. But there's a guy who's just ultra convinced about this, and
the true origin is Jack Kirby created him and had this idea like this is I love the original Silver Surfer origins, like in the Jack Kirby Collector. I can't remember which volume, which issue, which issue of the Collector it is. But Silver Surfer's original origin wasn't that Norrin Rad. I hate that. I hate that origin. I hate it. I truly do. I love the origin where Galactus like, I need a herald. He makes Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer's going around. You're all gonna die. I'm gonna convert the energy to your planet to energy to feed to my god. And then he encounters the humans, and he's about to. In the Fantastic Four number 50, I believe or is it 49? I think it's 50, where he's about to convert, I think, Alicia Masters to energy. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of like has the revelation. It's like, what am I doing? And that right there, like finding humanity, not rediscovering humanity. I know people love Stan Lee. I know they love him, but that was a terrible decision. The whole Norrin Rad. I love the idea that he would stay on Earth to learn about humanity. Not that you're trapped on Earth. You have to stay here as punishment. You cannot find in law. I hate that. I love the idea. This is a guy that, and it's because he became that mopey. It's the old the NES. Silver Surfer is like crying on the surfboard, crying. I hate the Silver Surfer for that. I love the idea. This is he discovers humanity. He's like, I'm going to fight. It's the kind of Tron like, and realizing it's a beautiful potential. Never realized, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. But it's a funny. There's some funny background on that. I need to go through. I had some old material from the comic shop that I ran back in the 90s. I need to pick that up and scan it and throw it in. It'd be funny. Comic runs that I'm currently looking at. You're talking maybe about the numbers. In terms of the numbers, let's see. I've got the Captain Marvel from Brian Reed's on, and every relaunch, which is just madness to look at. I've got new X-Men, as I mentioned. I've got White Knight that's waiting to go up in the next day or two. What else do I have? I've got a bunch of others. I've been taking everything. Any time anybody asks for those numbers, I write it down. Goes in a list. I've got Squirrel Girl in there. I've got the Justice League of Snyder's Justice League. I've got Snyder's Batman. So there's a bunch. And so if there's any that you want in there, you just throw them in the comments. I just throw them in a little text pad and then out they go. It's fun. And I do have to say a big thank you to Zach, who pointed a bunch of people here to this channel because of those numbers videos and got some attention. I appreciate that. And then also, as long as I'm at, I do want to say thank you to the Primer crew who pointed, some people here as well. And I do have to laugh that those two audiences came in at the exact same time, which I don't think could be possibly two different groups coming together. But
I'm just picturing. I'm picturing a Beat It music video, like the SOAR panel, the SOAR greats opening up.
A bunch of YA young girl readers all coming in. It's fun stuff. We are also. I'm glad people like the Legion one that I did with Joe. We should do another one. Yeah, that video has the most watch time of all the videos that I've done. It's not the highest hit, but it's the highest watch time. Like people, the stats on that are nuts. Like 90% of the people. Well, people watched it to the end. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like people, that love for the Legion. It's so unfortunate that pretty much since Abnett Lanning, the DNA run, it's pretty much been 20 years ago now. That's the true heart, because that was, to me, that was the last time that had like any heart to it. I mean, when Moy was doing the illustrations and everything, I liked it. The DNA stuff I loved. I loved the original Silver Age stuff more because there was so much. Because it felt like it was just away from the DC universe. It wasn't. You had Superboy being the reason why they got together and all that, Superman, all that stuff. But you didn't have it like just hammered over your head. It felt like it was his own thing. It was his own world, and had that Star Trek thing going on before Star Trek. So I loved it. But yeah, I'm glad it's doing so well.
It's nice to see people dig in on that kind of stuff, and it's some really good stuff. Hey, Wes is in the channel again in person. Thank you, congratulations, Wes. 10K, you definitely have earned it, man. Interview Gleb Melnikov. Well, I mean, I can reach out. I just put up a video that took like a bunch of his tweets and put it to circus music, but I'm sure he'll be happy to come on.
He'll probably come on and apologize.
No.
He'll apologize to the other peers because he doesn't want to upset his peers. He's like, I'm gonna take your jobs, but I'm gonna delete that. He was gonna talk all big and bad. For a Russian, you'd expect this. I was just reading this stuff and I'm like laughing. It's like some Razor Ramon WWF energy. It's like flicking the toothpick at people, and I'm like, this is great. And he's just like cutting promos. I'm like, we need more of this. And he's like, I'm not this. I'm not with the pros. I'm not with the Comicsgate people. I'm just my own guy. I'm cutting my own path. I'm like, you know what? Hell yeah, Hellraiser. We need more of this. And then, of course, what he does, he bitches out. He just deletes everything to keep his job because guess what? That's a problem in the comics industry these days.
It's tight. I mean, the crazy part is, think about it. It's not a great answer. And people are going to say this is a pussy statement, and to some extent it is, but it is like, it's too small. The fundamental problem of the comic industry remains it's too freaking small.
It's too small, and if you want a paying gig that pays up front, you have to swallow your pride and eat the shit that they feed you.
Terrible.
And if you don't like that, then guess what? You don't belong in the comics industry, the corporate side.
It's terrible.
Even on the fringes, I mean, you're still a damn sewing circle of catty bitches out there.
But it's not. Jesus, Larry. It's not. It's not the. It's not that people should have free reign to go in and be crazy assholes in this business. It's just like it shouldn't be that. It should be that tight because as we see, we had a year of Warren Ellis and a lot of other kind of nonsense that goes on, and that's a symptom. When you get things tight, this is what happens.
They didn't call out Warren Ellis for basically doing what he did years ago. But for one guy saying, please don't do this, and then he even backs down from that from something so milquetoast.
It is what it is. I get, in this industry, it's tiny, and I get it. And like I said, I'm sure I made no friends with putting his tweets to circus. The funny thing for me, I was laughing because I'm like, I don't go search for tweets. So I don't invest a lot of time in it. So I put in Burn and this guy, and it's like, good God, there's like 800 tweets here. I mean, you just keep scrolling. And it was just, I'm just sitting there laughing in my head. I'm hearing circus music. I'm like, well, I got to do something with this. So anyway, enough about that. I'm wondering if Wonder Girl series of the Yara Floor now in trouble. No, I don't. I just think DC had a plan where they're going to release some things in March, and then they're going to trickle some more out in April and trickle some more out in May. And I've heard that, directly from a number of creators and people, like that's the plan. The only confusing part is like, hey, rather than like hearing this on the side from creators and editors, this would be a really cool thing to kind of, like we were talking about earlier, like roll out, like go ahead and tell people this is the plan. Because otherwise they start to think, you're not doing your books and everything else. But I mean, Julie Jones, the Yara Floor is still coming out. It's just, it was planned for April and nobody bothered to tell anyone. It's just weird. To me, that's just weird. What do I know? Anyway, there's a ton of more. So by the way, tomorrow morning, I hope you enjoy, Joe and I are continue to refine some amazing pitches. So first thing,
dear God.
Part 2.
The 9/11 one, the World Trade Center, that actually shocked me. I'm not shocked by many things. That was terrible. I loved it, but it was terrible. I was like, this is actually if someone had the balls to do that, like
no, it's not a ball. Nobody needs the balls to do it. Nobody should do that. That's a terrible idea. That's like don't do that. Don't do that comic. Nobody wants that comic.
Don't rip me off. There was one addendum to that last question about Alien. What do you think about the Marvel?
Alien? Alien. I hope it's good. I mean, I have very fond memories of a lot of the Dark Horse stuff. So I hope that they can pull something off. I do think that he's a very talented writer, and I'm hoping for some good stuff. The little bit that worries me a little bit is that the question has been asked directly: is this set in the Marvel universe or not? And they're like, well, you'll have to wait and see. And I'm like, just say no. Just say no and do Alien stuff. Don't tease that at some point we're getting an Alien themed event where they cross over the Avengers. Just don't do that.
I'll say this: I really didn't. The last time that something like that did happen, it was the Wildcats Aliens thing, where basically all the Stormwatch got killed. You have to actually read that to understand what happened, how the Authority came about to be, because that was actually Warren Ellis, actually right there. But I think if I were the Brood, I think I'd probably be signing up for unemployment at this point. in comics. But
by the way, if you're and thank you, by the way, I'm glad you like the Miss Marvel video. It's good to get the data out there because you can still draw your own conclusions and do your own thing, but it is good to just see, hey, because I think there's a lot of feelings people have of like, why are the comic publishers so stupid or so crazy, or why are they doing such insane things? There's usually a reason. It's usually not people just sitting around deciding to be crazy for no apparent reason. There's something that caused them to do this, and I think the Miss Marvel video shows a pretty clear indication of, you know, what they thought they had, and then kind of how it slipped through their fingers, and how they've gone back to the well to try and get it back. And it's the Captain Marvel video is another one that tells a very interesting story of just, you know, what they're trying to do and all the rest. By the way, when Joe and I do these videos, and then I'll show some stuff and we'll get back to questions, but when he doesn't know, like, I don't share my pitches with him ahead of time, and I don't see his. So we are surprising each other in the bit. So keep that in mind. When I rolled out the 9/11 one, I'm thinking, I don't know, this isn't very good. I'm wondering how Joe in New York's going to take this. And I'm like, there was a moment of silence where I'm like,
it felt like it lasted like a minute. The silence.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I did something terrible right there. But anyway, 9/11 is not something to joke about. But anyway. I did offend one guy.
Gallows humor, my friend. But I will say this about the Miss Marvel and the numbers videos: if you're allowing your enjoyment of something to be like changed by like the book I love, the numbers aren't that great. I'm like, that should not change your love of that comic. It's like, I do think that people say, well, numbers don't matter. To me, I like when a movie doesn't do so good. Like, okay, New Mutants, oh, it's terrible. Ratings are terrible. It didn't make no money. Nobody cares. Whatever. It's like, well, that, you know, likelihood of Disney just saying, oh, here's $40 million, go off and make basically Breakfast Club meets, you know, Dream Warriors. Well, of course, they don't want that. They want the most maximizable profitability. They don't want small, medium budget films. They want the biggest thing. They want the most kid-friendly thing. Wolverine can only cut up robots, or, you know, what have you. The Wolverine in a Disney movie is going to be terrible because he can't, like, look, the closest thing, like, we saw bits of Wolverine and then Logan slicing people up. But it is what it is. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I think that, you know, we should just, the number, it's informative, but the numbers do not lie. And the famous word of Scott Steiner.
Absolutely. The numbers don't lie. And it just gives you some insight maybe into kind of how some of these things are going. We learn stuff from it. I surprise myself constantly. I want to get to some. Again, there's lots of questions. I know I've missed a few, but we'll hopefully get them back. Like, are the Inhumans supposed to be back now? Yeah, I was under the impression they were going to be back as part of Empire, but who knows? Maybe there could be a Reign of X title where there's an Inhuman situation. I mean, that seems Anyway, and thank you all by the way for the nice words on the subscriber count. Again, only in 2020 would people put up with this nonsense. So that is that is some crazy stuff.
They're gonna troll you, man. They're gonna all unsubscribe. Come
you absolutely
January
sure.
1st.
Yeah. Just keep doing it. That's okay. It's really okay. So in the new year, our first week of the year, we're at 3 columns. Increased font size slightly per the feedback from whenever we did this last. This is what we're getting the first week of 2021. A small little assortment of comics. We are getting Dark Knight's Death Metal #7. We're getting a pretty big host of Future State books. They're getting the first Wonder Woman, the next Batman, the Flash. We're getting some big ones there. And then over in the Marvel side, more Spider-Man shenanigans. Actually, all things considered, Marvel is quieter next week. I mean, Thor's a big book. Certainly, Venom is a big book. But it is they kind of went for broke before the end of the year, which is what they typically do. And DC next week is the week where DC tries to knock it out. So that's what this says. But I don't know anything on this list for the people in the chat or you, Larry. Anything on this list grabbing you?
Crossover. We got crossover. Let's see what else. Wow, that seems to be just about it for me. I'm still looking, but. Right. Wow, I'm kind of shocked. Right? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's the downside. This past year, I've gone back and read older stuff or reread stuff I've not read in a long time, or or different collected formats. So yeah, I think 2021 would pretty much be about the same. Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Hey, how could I miss it? Eternals is on there with 5,000 variant covers. That's right. So yes.
That's
Yay.
not funny. That's basically what it is.
Oh my God. That is so many variant covers.
That Walt Simonson variant cover, though, it just made me sad. It made me sad because Simonson's one of those few creators. Him, Byrne, as we all know, if you want to get to be the king of the comics internet, you need to trash Byrne because he ain't going to fight back.
Yeah, true. Well, I feel like at some point Byrne's gonna like wander onto Twitter and see all this stuff, and then it'll be the most amazing meltdown of all time.
No, it'll be the Grandpa Simpson. He'll walk in and then put his hat up, and then grab his hat and walk back out.
I mean, the funny thing about Byrne, it's always one of those tough. It's actually a perfect encapsulation for the internet, because if you read, Byrne has said a lot of really despicable things. I mean, no doubt about it. And every time, like last night, I'm arguing with some guy. And I'm like, hey, you shouldn't trash Byrne. He does a lot of his art, right? His style. I mean, he's done a lot of good art, and you can't take that away from him. It's like, well, haven't you heard about how he's a misogynist and horrible? And it's like, I understand. He still sold a lot of comics. His reprints are selling more than a lot of people today for new stuff, and he can still be an awful person.
Until they get to that Gerard Jones, Justiniano level, that's the I completely disavow. Like that right there is like not only disavow, but I will destroy the comics at that point, because it's very I don't want this in my collection. I don't want this in my house. Google those. Google Gerard Jones and Justiniano.
Oh no, you don't do that.
You don't want to. Yeah, you don't.
You don't want to do that. You don't really want to dig into John Byrne and 11-year-olds. Don't read that. You don't want to Google Mark Waid and a hammer. You don't want to Google any of this stuff. I mean,
okay. You're talking about the John Byrne. Yeah, he's basically doing the whole. Wait, that's the one where he's comparing the two. Yeah,
we'll just X that whole thing. I mean, there's nothing good about any of this stuff. It's just
it's not Gerard Jones level, but it just
it's cringy. Like it's not good.
It's poor taste as far. Well, what I'm thinking of, but
it's completely wrong. And he also stiffed a bunch of comic shop owners back in the day from showing up on signings. I mean, there's including me. There's lots of people who've been wronged by John Byrne. It's totally true. There would be drinks. There are drinks. I'm having old fashioned. I hope you are too. Old man, old fashioned. See, it all works. Yeah. That's how it goes. That's
my daughter open up that bottle with your paws.
Is it wrong? Is it wrong? I want to teach my daughter how to mix drinks, but it seems like that's not a good idea.
Get you the Rocky robot. Just get you the one that Rocky got Paulie, and just have that one do it. Here you go.
This would be an excellent teaming. Let's put Byrne and Chaykin in a room together. Absolutely. I often had this thing it's like the. From 300, where some guys just get dumped in a pit and then you can kind of watch what happens. That would be quite a show.
The funny thing is, I know Chaykin, Byrne, notorious, Alan Moore would be Alan Moore is the Shao Kahn of that pagoda. Oh, but I look at it this way. It's like you get old. I mean, because nobody listens to you. Damn it, you get old. I mean, that's the thing about being old. But also just probably sucks too. It's like but I'll find out soon enough about being old.
It is. It's not great. So really quickly, we've been talking about some of these. So in 2020, and what I hope to do is go and actually go through all the old videos. I realized today I put up way too many videos. So I was just trying to get the thread of what kind of happened in the year to do some kind of wrap up. And I'm hitting the back button on YouTube for, I don't know. It was I was on time number 30 and I'm into October and I'm like, oh, Jesus, I'm not doing this anymore. Done. It is, see, Joe, you got to save these for
my Ritz.
I think tomorrow's I think the one we put up tomorrow, Joe, you'll have to let us know in the chat. I think the one is, I think tomorrow's is better. I think the second one is more sarcastic, is even better than the first. So we'll see. Even better ideas. Yeah. What's the worst selling Marvel comic recently? Well, I mean, I could find out in a moment. Larry can kind of entertain us with some comments, and I could figure that out. But
go ahead while you do that. I have to say that as far as worst selling stuff goes, I mean, I don't think anything could be worse than what was that? I don't even know if it actually came out. The Carol Danvers super suit, not quite Venom, that they tried to make people like believe is like maybe because the whole
that was Miss Marvel had the symbiote suit, right?
Oh, she had the symbiote. I thought it was Carol had it.
That's right, and there was you're right. There's a 3-issue series that they're going to tie into Empire, where Miss Marvel costume.
It was done, but not put out, right?
Yeah, and that was like I mean that clearly that was a terrible idea. I mean, just
that's gonna be the omnibus bonus feature, like when they used to put like deleted scenes on DVDs back when. Remember DVDs, people, or Blu-rays?
I mean, what are you doing? Don't put out a comic based on Miss Marvel suit that's existed for three issues. That's a crazy idea. Don't do that. In terms of poor selling comics, well, I mean, so reliable numbers stopped for us in March. So we are getting more numbers, but they're estimates and they're fuzzy and they're inflated. But in March, you had a bunch of comics under 10,000. Strike Force was under 10,000 for Marvel. Runaways was at 7,000. That was not doing good. Agents of Wakanda was at 9,000. I mean, this is the bottom. I mean, the True Believer stuff is selling much higher than that. Let's see. Is there anything? I think that's about it. Oh, Star Wars Rise of Kylo Ren, 6,000. Arrow, 5,900 copies. So, I mean, there's some, I mean, you're getting beat by Money Shot by Vault at that point. That's not a good look for Marvel. But that's probably at the low end of what we've got there, right around 5,000. So that's not a good, that's not a good plan. So anyway, these are the big stories. So of course, Dan Didio, it seems like so long ago. Diamond, shutting down DC's new distributors. One of them already went away. Chadwick Boseman, of course, very tragically passed away. Snyder Cut came out. Ray Fisher, Ten of Swords defied expectations for 24 issues. Multiple layoffs at DC, Warren Ellis, and many others. Virtual Comic Cons that just sucked. Hey, Eric Breen, how are you doing? Hello to everybody, by the way. I'm not doing a good job of saying hello to all the people saying hello. I don't know. For virtual comic conventions, I think I said this in a video, or maybe I just imagined, or maybe it's one of the 40 videos that hasn't been processed yet. But is anybody else surprised that these Zoom calls feel super awkward? It's like when you're trying to teach your grandma how to use Facebook. That's how they felt. Like they did not feel natural or good.
As a fan of Opie and Anthony, I got used to the concept of cringe comedy, like taking humor out of other people's uncomfortableness, saying horrible things and watching how they react, or what have you. But that was extremely uncomfortable to the point where I couldn't even watch those things, or the whole Comic-Con home, complete and utter failure. It was just nightmarish, and it's like, nope. Not gonna continue on.
No,
I had my fix pretty quick. I'm like, it's like those. God help me! Like, if you go to the YouTube homepage, they had those with Josh Gad interviews, like whatever, Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox and stuff like that. I'm like, no, please no. Get that off my screen. Get that. Do not recommend.
No, oh, thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. It is. Look, I mean, I do a lot of video conferences. I do a lot of video chats. I think the Brazilian CCXP was done well. I think DC Fandom wasn't bad. It was presented well, but you got the interviews. It's just like I maybe there's a role in here for some people wanting to make some extra money. Like they could be a Zoom coach where ahead of time they come in and like, hey, clean up your room behind you a little bit. Maybe take the underwear off the shelf and point the camera kind of middle and down a little bit so you don't get the upshot where it shows off a giant chin, and clean that biscotti off your collar there before you go on. And then if you don't have something to say, don't just kind of mindlessly stare at the camera. I think there's some real ways they could do that, but Those cons are like, I mean, the money is there, man. If somebody wants to take that business and run with it and like be able to do virtual cons in a way that's not stupid, you could make like $10. You could totally just break it in. All right. Anyway, yeah, significant expansion of Scholastic business. Scholastic's business has expanded dramatically, and I got to thank Joe here for pointing me to this Amazon calculator, because that's just been an addiction for me now, just looking up stuff and seeing what's selling and what's not, and kind of getting all those numbers. It is a very fascinating story of who's doing well, which is not many, and who is not. That is anyway. Yeah, and don't do this. Don't be that guy. Just don't just have your Zoom call and just don't do that.
Keep your pants on during the Zoom call, please.
Keep your pants on. I am I'm waiting on one more bit of numbers from Viz on Manga to kind of really show how it's grown this year. It will surprise you. So if you think Manga did well this year, you don't know the half of it in the West. The numbers are much higher than I thought. I thought they would be very, very high, but Manga absolutely wrecked everything this year, and it's crazy how much money they did. But anyway, all right, on to some other things.
The Temporary Halt to Movies and the DC. With the metal, Dark Knight's metal and all that stuff, or was it Dark Metal? Yes. And then the expansion into Future State. But yeah, those, like the whole Future State thing, it's like, okay, I get what you're doing. Not keen on it, but it's not going to be my thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, manga isn't for everybody, and I'm not saying it should be, but it is. I think the thing that if you're in the comics business anywhere, or if you're thinking of doing a comic, I think you owe yourself like a couple nights of research, just trying to figure out.
I was talking about the metal stuff. The
Dark Knight. Metal. Sorry.
Oh yeah. But the manga thing, I am not surprised. Like, what's the best Wonder Woman book? Go, the graphic novel collection, what have you. But you can go and start with One Piece Volume 1, or Attack on Titan, or Sailor Moon, or what have you. Tons of options out there for
so much
varied fans. But the numbers game for new X-Men, Grant Morrison and co.
Yeah, this is new X-Men right here that we're looking at. So this is the full run of Grant Morrison's time, and you got the dates there at the bottom rather than the issue numbers, and we'll go through it a little bit, but it's an interesting picture. First of all, New X-Men was the #1 book many months, so this gives you a sense of where the ceiling was in comics around 2001 to 2004. It did have the classic kind of Marvel decline, and then the pitch back up for his last arc. Kind of that bottom out point that you're seeing there is the riot at Xavier's bit, which the Quentin Quire period there, and then kind of after that is Magneto messing up everything, the Chris Bachalo and the world, and then finally the Mark Silvestri kind of last 4 issues that you could see there is pokes right back up. But it's wild to see this in the sense of this was less than 20 years ago. This was what a #1 comic, or comic in the top 5 anyway, looked like at Marvel. And I mean, almost the entire run was over 100,000 K for the entire set, which is pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, that's one of those. It's surprising enough, because you got to think there's a lot of Igor Crede issues floating around in there around the middle.
Yeah, and most of those, right in that. I think all of Igor's issues were over 100,000.
He gets a lot of crap. I still love the guy. The guy was cranking out. He was doing that Cable/Soldier X and doing New X-Men within like doing like 2 issues a month, which doing in both the pencils and inks, because this is back in the day still where they were not. They sign you for one number, and then it's like, well, we're going to drop your number, a page rate, and then like, well, there's no recourse. Either you do it or you don't. You need a lawyer, but it's Marvel. What are you going to do? That's according to him. I was reading this article a while back. It was like, whoa, I did not realize it was. I knew they're skeevy. It's Marvel. They'll do it to Jack Kirby. They'll do it to anybody.
It's funny you say that. So I've got a tease for an interview that's coming up in a couple weeks, and here's my tease for it. It's somebody who worked on one of the comics that I've covered in the numbers, who watched the numbers video, and that's how they came to understand that they were owed some money that they hadn't received.
Oh,
And,
this
and
okay. Perch
and
has got the spicy.
yeah, so a little bit of an angry person. We're going to do that. I haven't recorded the interview yet. We're going to do it in the next week or so. We're going to post it up. So I'll let you try and guess who the mystery person is. But I feel if nothing else happens, I feel like I've done some human good with these numbers videos, because somebody's going to get a check who deserves one. And I think that is
You're Dr. Sam Beckett. You're leaping back in time, putting right what once went wrong, hoping each time that his next video is the video home.
Yeah, that's right. The video. That's right. So I feel that I'm doing some of these. It was so funny because it's like, hey, where did you get these numbers? Is this real or is this a bit? I'm like, no, it's real. And then we go back and forth, and it's like, can you send me the original files for this? I'm like, yes, I can do that. And I send it in, and he's like, fuck. It's a funny moment. You will be entertained, I promise, by that story. We'll see how hot the guy comes in at. But anyway, it's a crazy picture to look at this and kind of how it went, and where things landed. And I mean, it's not that dramatic of a pitch. If you look at the kind of right around 140,000 range, and then it settles kind of in the high 90s there at its low point, and it comes back up, that's a much more shallow drop than a lot of comics today. I mean, when you see the Captain Marvel one, I mean, like it's routinely going like from 70 down to 20 every time. So it's pretty crazy.
I honestly think that this right here, from my point of view, from me looking at it, I'm like, if I was going to have a run, I'd rather it look like that than just like the straight downhill and look bad out of hell. Yeah, that right there, actually not too bad, but yeah, you see we're like bringing in the hotness that was at the time, Mark Silvestri, but so unfortunate that they put him on, kind of a not weird so great take on Days of Future Past.
Yeah, that was a weird use of Mark Silvestri, but you'll hear all this in the retrospective. It's good stuff. But anyway, it's just kind of interesting to look at. So prediction time for the people in the chat and yourself, Larry. So what do you think? Which of these four do you have a better one? What's most likely to happen next year? Do you think will they finally figure out digital? Are they going to stop publishing comics completely? Does Marvel cut back, or more Animal Crossing? What do you think we're getting next year? What's most likely here?
More Animal Crossing. I've never played it. No, I honestly think it. Okay, let's go. Quote unquote worst case, like not necessarily worst case scenario, like that'd be, selling the IP to China or something. I don't know. I'm just saying the DC like DC was going to close in the 80s. They were going to shut it down until was it Jeanette Kahn convinced them otherwise. She convinced them, hey, we can. This is before Frank Miller was brought in. He did Ronin, and then eventually he went on. And then we had Watchmen, done by Gibbons and Moore, and then you had Frank Miller and Klaus Janson do Dark Knight Returns, and all this stuff has been milked to death, especially Watchmen. And you get all you bring, like, if it wasn't for them, they would have shut it down back in the 80s, because it's like, well, why do we need this? It's like we own the IP. Like, I think there's a lot of, probably need like an IP lawyer or something on to talk about that. But I understand that even if they were to shut down, it's like, yes, it would suck for shops, and it would suck for people who want to read these, continue to read these stories, to be that completionist and have that fix of these characters been going on, for 80 years, some of them. I honestly think if DC, because they actually do try to get stuff outside, I think DC has a potential for 2021 to be, hey, you got an HBO Max subscription? Well, here you go. You get this base mini comics, or here's some comics, tied into it or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think something like that could work. A full multimedia potential, movies, TV, comics. These are granted, they'll be more like those General Mills offerings, like where they were not top tier. They might have a top tier cover artist, like a Phil Jimenez. Yep. And honestly, even though people don't think of him as such, Dan Jurgens, he was on those General Mills, comics covers of Justice League stuff, which are actually really fun comics because they're standalone stories and they're a little wacky, but not goofy. It's like, there's that Silver Age kind of vibe going on, but not 100%. It's like closer to Bronze Age, really. But I think that could be a potential where they're going to go, or they're going to try to ape some kind of, weekly. Hopefully, I would love for something like, let's try to do what Shonen Jump does. Some kind of weird mixture of like East and West, because these are focused on just nothing but like European style graphic novels, 40 to 100-page stories, well collected, hardcover, softcover, what have you. Because a lot of this stuff, something's going to have to give.
Yep.
Because $4 or $5 an issue, it's always going to be an issue. But you cannot, it's like it'd hurt the shops. It's like it's one of those things, man. It's like too many people out there is hurting the shops. But at the end of the day, I don't think a corporation cares about mom and pop shop somewhere in Indiana. That's if you got a good governor that'll actually allow to open back up. And even then, what do you have to sell? It's like new content, and new content was what brings people in on a regular basis. It isn't like a newsstand. It's so unfortunate. It's such a muddy, dirty way of going about it.
It is. It is. I feel, well, I think, generally the simplest answer is a correct one. And if we look at next year, very little changing is the most likely answer. Hey, Marvel will probably do more events. I do dearly hope actually Marvel does cut back on their line. I think they desperately need it. And I do think there's some trouble coming for Marvel, as I talked about earlier this week. I think that, again, everybody knows my opinion on the stop printing comics thing. This is not the year that's going to happen. I don't bet that number one is going to happen either. Somebody put a comment in the chat that then vanished up the line a little bit. And it was, and it's something to look into. So piracy in general, what does that do for comics? Because there's a very legitimate argument to be made that, manga is heavily pirated, and yet it's having a insane year over here. So what does that tell us about kind of marketing and momentum? At the same time, though, I think it's, Hawkman was heavily pirated. Its sales never achieved any kind of sustainability level, and it got canceled. And so I think there's some kind of tipping point for piracy where it can hurt a lot at the beginning, but then once you achieve a certain mass, then that kind of stuff still legal, still wrong, but it has a different effect on the outcome of the book. It's a very interesting model, and I'd really love to. If I'm hoping in January I can wrap my head around that and try and put things up. To that point, did comic sales really bump up in 2020? Yes, I say tentatively. A lot of comic shops reported higher sales. A good number of comic shops went out of business, so it's a little hard to tell. Like, what was people looking? What part of it was people looking for entertainment to do at home? What part of it was that temporary delay of comics caused people to get into kind of a frenzy where when they came back they bought more? What part of it was stores closed and customers flowed into other stores? It's a little hard to tell exactly what happened. Anecdotally, it seems like comic sales bumped up a bit. What is definitely true is certain young adult, definitely not all. Like Dav Pilkey made more hundreds of millions, and manga did very, very well. And those things definitely helped. It's an interesting story, and I think it's going to take a long time before we can really assess what happened in 2020. But it's definitely a very interesting piece of what went on.
I'd like to address that question that actually happened before about the Jinx world. Bringing that in. That was just okay, Bendis, you come in, you write Superman, do whatever you want, we'll publish your books, you'll even get your own Wonder Comics line and all that. It's catering to him and his friends. And that right there would Didio out, and it seems like kind of like the scene from Apocalypse Now. It's like, who's in charge here? Ain't you? It's this, nobody knows what's going on. I don't believe you'll probably have anyone else after Bendis have like they get their own imprint, their Jinx World, and get the Wonder Comics and get the top tier book, one of the top three, Superman, Batman, Justice League, stuff like that, or the top. Mm-hmm. You want to say Wonder Woman, but not really. Unfortunately, the Wonder Woman's never been that big book. It should be, but it's nobody's actually got the character right, in my opinion. Closest would be William Morrison and H.G. Peter back in the 40s. And then it was just it was a very weird comic, very Lynchian in some regards. I could look at that. I could hear like Angelo Badalamenti music in my head. But
it's I think that DC is definitely the days of having these various imprints running around both for confusion and the money they have to pay people they're over for some time. Yeah, DC Universe is there. I did understand there was a survey out there, and that they're definitely trying to put some effort there. Whether it goes somewhere or not is another question. Pirating, yeah. So I made this argument a while back, and I got trashed for it a little bit. I agree with you. I don't think pirating is solely about affordability at all. There's also discoverability. I mean, here is the crazy part, and people do not like to hear this, and what got a couple editors really angry. It is easier to pirate. Forget about the cost. Assume that Comixology is free and DC Universe is free and all the rest, and piracy is, assume the cost is completely out of it. In many cases, not all, the discoverability of reading comics online and going to sites like that, it's so much faster to get from I want to read a comic to I'm reading the comic. There is a usability problem in addition to a cost problem. And I don't say that as like that's an excuse or anything else, but it's a factor that the go from I want to read a comic to I'm going to spend money to then I'm going to read it. It's clunky in the way the current systems exist, and hopefully DC Universe fixes some of that. But and once you're used to it, it's fine. But there's just it is easier to go from zero to reading a comic with piracy, and that should not be. Piracy should be harder and then the mainstream guys pushing things, and it's a weird system. There definitely is a usability problem where comics are concerned.
I think there's also one of the reasons you were saying about the whole difference between piracy of manga, of the Japanese comics coming in, and how the piracy is exorbitant, all over the place, but the sales are up. And then you have Americans like there's piracy too, but the sales aren't there. Same thing with Hawkeye. It's one thing to stare at a screen for most chapters are 20 pages long for a manga.
Yep.
And so you can stare, in most volumes are 300 some odd pages sometimes, like around 300, a little less usually, like 280. It's one thing to stare at a screen for 20 pages of American comic book. Yeah, full color, you get all that. And you get 6, 7, 8 panels a page, a lot of words, but 20 pages. It's easy. It's easier to do that. It's not so easy to stare 300 plus pages and keep reading. Yes, it might be there, but it's so much harder to stare at that. It's like, I'll pick up the page because it's easier to read that and then go back and read it. Because sometimes the scanlation, your piracy websites or what have you can go down. Sure. And it's a lot easier to go from, I'm pirating this book. Well, I'll just go over here and click on this one over here. I don't have to pay nothing for it. I don't have to.
Easy.
And it's unfortunately easy. And I think, unless you have to in a way, it's like which way American comics can go. Like you get black and white comics art that's cheap, faster, but maybe like here, comics creator, you're gonna do 10, here you do 10 volumes of this character, boom, go. Your own vision, but you have to have like boom, 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 chapter out, chapter out, chapter out, or you go that premium 60, 100 page oversized hardcover like those. The Bond Destiné, the European the Franco-Belgian comics. They were European style hardcovers. They're about 11 by 9 by 13 size comics. Hardcover, very thick paper, archival quality. Yeah. You go one of those two ways. But this $5 for 20 pages on paper that you're just your 98.6 body heat. And the moisture from your hands mixed with paper, and then the ink comes off. Or whether that's the glossy or whether it's newsprint. I picked up some newsprint comics from Alterna back in the day. I had the newsprint coming off onto my hands. I was told by some idiot, that's not possible. It was. I got on my hands. My buddy got on his. He's like, It was that Mother Russia comic. So maybe early in the process, but either still. It doesn't matter. It's like, but you don't have that problem with the tankobons, the Japanese collections, those digests, 300-page digests, for usually $15. For $15 or less, you're getting 300 pages of comics. You can't argue with that. $15 maybe gets you 100-page comic, 100-page trade paperback of like 5 issues from American comic. You cannot compare. And also, the American comic might have like 5 different artists over like 3 or 4 issues. This is one writer, one artist on the manga. Usually, it might have,
Sure.
You go back and I can go and read Lone Wolf and Cub at any time, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of pages. I think it's like, was it 5,000 pages? I think that is 8,000, something like that. Crazy number. to see that beautiful work, and it's beautiful, even at a small size. When you look at this American stuff, and it's like, the joke with the cow art style and what have you. Like, yes, art is subjective, but
Sure.
it's hard to argue with manga and the results that they get. The Japanese do not mess around, and it offers so much more than the American comics market does now. They used to, but not anymore.
It's very quality stuff. I in large amounts. I mean, and it is brutal in some ways. I mean, it's not like all riches over there. There's some really terrifying documentaries about mangaka artists and some of the assistants and what they make and where they sleep.
It's nightmarish. It's not happy time. It's depressing, and it's one of those things. It's like, it's the comics will break your heart, kid. That that little thing, But it's that works both ways for both East and West, and
it's true in different ways, but it's true. This is a smart question or a comment here. I'm wondering if collectibility factor is dying. I think it is. I think it's definitely, and this will help lead to digital lifestyle or just abandonment, one or the other. I think collectibility, it is suffering a little bit, and there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of the core collectors that have been built up are either jaded because they realize those comics are not paying for their kids to go to college, or this is that kind of older audience that I've talked about in videos that right now is not being catered to because we want to go find that new audience. So your whales, your big collectors, are the people that you're actively kind of turning off in some cases, or telling them that, hey, we got to make room for other people. And it's not a wrong statement to say we have to make room for other people, but making room entails that we're going to make the bubble bigger, not push you out. And I think a lot of collectors feel like they're being pushed out. And so that's also, you're getting a lot of people that are they're just tuning out for one reason or another. And some will flow to digital, and that's fine. That's why you do need to work on the usability. I think there's a comment that you made up here earlier that, this blows my mind. And I've seen the same thing. You can go to certain online comic sites. They have pull lists. They have subscription lists. There's a site that has, you could reserve comics and it will send you a notification when there's a new one up. And why does this crummy site filled with ads and porn that's clearly just pirating books, why do they have features that the legitimate comic sites don't have? That's insane.
It does mind boggle you. It almost, it could defeat you if you let it, if you think about it too much or concentrate too hard on that negative aspect of it. But
yeah,
never underestimate the power of free. The strings attached. Well, you might get a virus, malware, what have you. You are, it's like I've heard horror stories of people, they worked on a comic real hard, put a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and then it'd be at a convention, someone comes up and say, hey, when's the next volume coming out? Oh, yeah. So, I didn't pay for it. I just pirated it. I'm waiting for the next volume. It's like, the arrogance of some of these people. I mean, that's humanity for you. I mean, it's like, everyone's great. No, we're not. I think it's like default asshole mode is on until you got to put layers of niceness above that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so unfortunate that these pirating sites have better setups than the official deals.
Yeah, I very, very well played, you Iron. I think
they followed you over here.
They followed me. They followed me over. I always go in with protection on my browser. Anyway.
They found me. I don't know how, but they found me. We know how, Perch. We know how.
I do think and then I'll move on to another scrim tired of looking at Animal Crossing. By the way, if anybody's played Animal Crossing, that is a con of a game. Like my daughter's like, hey, I really love this game. Look at all the cute animals. I need bells in order to buy crap to make my house bigger. But she doesn't want it, so she's like, gives it to dad. Like, dad will farm gold for me in this game, and I'm doing this and doing this and doing
work.
this.
It's not a game. It's work.
Just give myself a second job to feed this stupid badger over here.
We should burn it all down or build a nuke. Build a nuke on the island.
I'm every time, and it's like I give him a bunch of money after cutting down trees for 3 days, and then he's going, hey, how would you like another room to your house? It'll only be 300,000 more bells. You can go find some more fruit. And I'm like, I'm going to skin that guy alive. Anyway,
couldn't skin him.
There's like 3 people in the chat who play Animal Crossing who are either love or hate us at this point.
I know the horrors of it. I by by association, I know the horrors of it. It's like watching somebody gambling away their life. It's like just one more hand.
It is relaxing. There is a guy on YouTube that tried to murder the raccoon and he went through this elaborate scheme of kind of building fences around his island in order to try and starve that thing out. But anyway, pretty crazy. What do I think about webcomics? I like webcomics. I think Webtoon and some of these other things, I think they've got some really good content there. I think it, it hasn't caught yet. It's still very niche, but I think there's some really great material there. And it's a really great way in many cases for a lot of people to get in and start playing with this stuff and, seeing if they can do comics.
I think that's honestly web comics and whether it's, Webtoons, Tapas, and a couple other places. I think if you have doing a format that can easily be collected and where you, after like, let's say 120 pages worth of content, maybe even throwing in bonus stuff, and then you like, oh yeah, new comics for sale, the first volume. Here you go. You can buy, or here's a T-shirt. Here's stickers. People for some reason like ephemera. I don't do I don't do comic T-shirts. I don't want stickers. I don't want prints. Just give me the book. Give me the book. I want the book. Yeah. Give me what I want. It's this idea of like tchotchkes. I'm like, that's like some old woman stuff. It's like it's like, I want this for my grandson. Like, grandson doesn't want that. He give him a Steam card.
Absolutely.
$20 on this garbage. Give him a Steam card. He'll rather have that.
Animal Crossing is absolutely about saying no to Tom Nook. I totally agree. Sorry. So BC writes here, and he's correct. So there are absolute collectors, and many comics will get more rare, more collectible, worth more. It's true, but the people, the volume of collectors needs to be increasing rather than shrinking. And right now, I think to Horizon Bray's comment, which I agree with, is there's fewer and people coming in who are collectors. There's people who are coming in who aren't collectors. I think the people who are coming in via Scholastic or Dogman or Manga have a very different way of looking at all this stuff.
But they are collecting it, but not actively seeking out, I got to get this from my collection.
Yeah, it's a different mentality. Yeah.
I mean, how many kids' books? I mean, a lot of people move around. I know you moved around a lot. You talk about, you've gone all over the place. I think every place like Antarctica or whatever. But you have, I guarantee, I somewhere, I still got, books from when I was a kid, like the old Berenstein Bear stuff.
Sure.
And I know I got, probably somewhere up in the attic. And I think that right there, it's like, kids still had these things, and they would take them on road trips, or when they're not using their iPads or what have you. It's such a weird thing. Staring at screens, like kids, like 2 or 3 year old kids. It's so disturbing to me. It's like I'm like old man Larry. I'm like a caveman. It's like this I'm a Luddite, but having this, you've seen people, all men, women, children, everybody would staring at screens and connected that way. It's like disturbing.
I hear you. I mean, I stare at this live stream screen and have 3 others around me. But yes, I'm with you.
But yeah, exactly. You have they still keep them. It isn't like they're reading them and throwing those Dogman books in the trash. They're keeping them around.
Oh, absolutely. No, they're definitely still collecting it.
They're not going to buy into the variant like Dogman, whatever dog, it's a dog eat dog world or what have you, and then variant cover B. They're not going to be buying that. You made me now look around this little kind of desk area where I'm set up here, and I've got 8 screens, 9 screens. I'm just picturing Serial Experiments Lane, in my head.
I'm hooked right up into the internet. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, as we mentioned before, Death Metal is ending. Wonder Woman's going to give herself a nice cheeky high five, and then and get some blue hair dye there for the highlights there at the ends. And we're moving to this new kind of thing. I know we kind of talked about it, so we can hit it pretty quickly. But people in the chat and you, were you reading Death Metal?
I was not. Actually, did not like Metal. I read it. I did not like it. It's one of those it's that Jason Aaron, and that's where Snyder goes into as well. That it's Silver Age goofiness, but not with the sincerity of it. It's like Superman with a lion head, and it's weird and fun, and it can be kind of dark and disturbing in some regards. But then you got here's a smart brood, and here's Kid Gladiator. Oh, here's Baby Dark Side, and here's basically the dark judges from Judge Dredd, and we acknowledge this, but so blatant, and we're gonna rock out at the end. And there's a video on YouTube called Bat Metal. It's actually kind of funny. It's like a pretty cool animated little thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's cool as a YouTube video. I don't want to see that in my comic book that I'm reading, I'm paying for, or even if it is on discount, pick it up when it's like years after it came out. I don't want to see that. And it's like, that's not for me. Other people love it. Great for them. I'm not going to take that away from them. But I just do not like it, and that's why I haven't bothered with this. And it just try hard. It's very try hard, in my opinion.
It's it feels like, and I know I've had some arguments with some of the folks involved about this, but it feels like there was some kind of marketing miss. And I don't think I'm just the big idiot, because I do hear this from a lot of people, that there was some, like, it was a very confused, the rollout, kind of like DC itself for that matter. It was clunky in like which issues are important, what's the thread here, like in the weirdest way. Like Death Metal needed the kind of guidance that Ten of Swords needed, and Ten of Swords just needed like a third of those issues. It's like, anyway, it's tough. Badre, a discussion on Twitter. Yeah, Superman Special Clan, which is a fine book. That's a good little book. Do I plan to do a video on the history of comics tackling bigotry? Yeah, I'd like to. I think I need to research it. Like, I'd like to not screw that one up. See,
I have to say this, being from the South and first time going out west. I went to Denver. Anything with Denver, it's like Western. No, it's very, I can say, very liberal, very left leaning city.
It is now.
I was in a gay friendly church. And it was almost like I felt like a stranger in a strange land. Very there, but it was.
Denver's changed a lot. It's definitely
some parts look like a war zone, but I've seen, and so I was talking to someone about a little bit about that there. It's like, with the Don McGregor Black Panther stuff, where he's burning, there's burning crosses, and there's Klansmen and Black Panthers kicking all their asses and all this. This is before the my favorite Curry run on Black Panther, and this is back in 2016 and everything. I was talking about this, but you have in comics, like and Superman fought the Klan in the radio serials, and you had that Superman versus the Klan, Smash of the Klan, young adults book and everything. And just like in any comics, like when comics deal with certain subjects, my opinion, this, of course, when I say it's of course, I'm not speaking for everybody. Like, every time I talk, I'm speaking for all you watching. So whether you like it or not, I'm speaking for you. It's like when people is like, well, that's your opinion. Like, well, no shit, I'm saying it. So of course it's my opinion. But when it comes to like dealing with whether it's, bigotry, racism, cancer, dying, AIDS, having real world issues. It's like when the famous black what you done with for the black skins lately, green, the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams stuff. It's like, what do you expect? White space cop go into the hood and like, all right, I'm gonna arrest. Like, what are you gonna do? Arrest all the drug dealers? And
that was such an awkward line. Like some of those. Like aging badly is too timid of a way to like some of the dialogue in some of those books are like, oof.
I know it, but the thing about it is, it's parroted. It's so amazing and beautiful. It's not. It's great looking art. I mean, it's Neil Adams before Neil Adams kind of went over. This is pre-skate man Neil Adams, but Batman on skates. But you have this serious topic where people have died. Churches have been blown up with black children in them. People just wanting to be able to sit down and have a meal wherever are punished for this, or people are lynched, terrorized in the night, and where you can't. And it's the places will enact anti-gun laws where you have to go to the sheriff's department. The sheriff might be a member of the Klan to get a gun permit, and the sheriff has the ability to say, "Nah, I'm going to give you a gun permit to defend yourself." So it's like, can't look to the government for help or whatever. But that's either here or there. What I'm saying is to touch upon these subjects in a comic book that has to end, where in the real world it doesn't end like that. It's like when Superman, that Superman image that shows up where he's like, oh, the crippled kid, and this, like, you shouldn't judge people, but you're not real. You're an alien with superpowers. You're basically a god on Earth. Yes, you're raised by, that right there, the real world is not. When they try to be serious, it's like to me, I look at that the same way people look at the selling war bonds, like let's slap a chap and all that kind of stuff.
It's
so as offensive. It's like there are people that are dying of cancer in this comic book universe where you have Lazarus pits and magic and how many X-Men have come back from the dead. Oh, Hulk's friend died of AIDS. I don't care because this isn't real. It's like it's bullshit, and it's like it pisses me right the fuck off that you have these people that go on this fucking I'm a high and mighty motherfucker. Sorry. I should say
you're fine. Yeah.
Wow,
you got heated, man. Jeez.
Well, it's sorry about that.
I'm looking. No worries. I
do apologize. I don't know who might be listening. Who might be around. Okay. Like somebody might have headphones on. But I look at it this way: it's extremely crass to do that. It's like you wouldn't have, well, somebody probably would. Tester, we must fight terror abroad, and this kind of like doing throwbacks to the buy war bonds covers, but for fighting terror still. Even though why are we still in Afghanistan? Let's let him come home. Why are we still there? It's a graveyard of empires for reasons.
Yeah.
But to me it's extremely crass, and I'm spinning tires here. So shut up.
No, you're fine. No, it's tough to do. It's kind of the point. I don't know that I made it there well. It's like it's hard to do these issues and do them well, and more often than not, you fail when you try and do these things. And so it's like nobody's saying you shouldn't do them. Just you got to be really careful about it. And it's too often like these things are kind of dumped into comics and then tossed out the window. I mean, the funny thing is, if you look at a lot of the way bigotry and racism and sexism, some of these things have been handled in comics, they tend to be storylines that are filler, and meaning they tend to put these in comics as the comic between arcs. So what's happening there is the writer has a pitch or has an idea. They're doing their 6-issue storyline or whatever else, and they're going to tee up the next one. And so there's this in-between issue where it's like now for a very special issue on racism. And it's like those topics shouldn't be, very special, sandwiched in between things. You need to put as much thought or arguably more thought into that kind of stuff than as you are with your whole 6-issue arc, because otherwise you're just throwing kind of random stuff out the window. It often reads worse than you think. I know that, a lot of people kind of expect to get pat on the back for just tackling the topic at all, but it's like Superman Smashes a Klan is a solid book. It tells a fine little story. It does a good job, largely because I think the writer set out to tell that story and had a plan and had an idea and put it on paper, and out it went. And it wasn't like, hey, we got Superman over here fighting Brainiac, and then we don't know what to do him for an issue. We're gonna have a subplot where Lex Luthor's pulling some shenanigans at the Daily Planet, but for the other 20 issues, let's have Superman he'll teach a lesson on racism. Then we're gonna send him into space to fight Mongol. Like that's not how you should do that. Like it comes out preachy, it comes out stupid, and it just doesn't it just doesn't work.
You can be allegorical. Like, okay, let's have Superman go to a planet. He's going to save it from Mongol. He stops Mongol, and then the people on the planet, yay! And then Superman realizes, like, wait, all these, these people, they have, they're all these red aliens. Or also, thank you. And then Superman's like, we want to show you like our world. Thank you for saving us. And like Superman sees that there's like an underground, and these people, these blue people are being abused underground. They're being like forced to. Basically, it's like Metropolis, the Fritz Lang. And he's like, they don't matter. It's like, but like there's like a pile of them dead or something. And Superman's horrified by this, and it turns out it's like, oh no, they're blue. They don't matter. It's like allegorical. Yes, it's kind of preachy and that's kind of cringy in some ways, but to me, I'd rather have that than he's fighting the Klan. He's like future Senator Robert Byrd.
If you're gonna do it, you got to do it. You got to do it with care, and you need and it's
be creative.
And it has a long history. So to your question, Badre, it goes back quite a long ways. It is a myth to say that this stuff just started happening. There's plenty. I mean, and I can do them like I've been doing the Superman is a dick videos. Like there's some cringy social issue books in the 70s. Absolutely there are. And
even my favorite X-Men story, the God loves man kills is.
Oh, don't use that line.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to, because that right there would definitely be clipped out of context. But
yeah, Kitty Pryde. That was not one of Claremont's best lines that he had.
Well, he did it multiple times, though. Remember,
he did. He went back to it again and again.
It's like, anyway, I don't know. You ever heard of the comedian Ari Shaffir?
Yeah.
Where he was talking about how go to Israel and people just dropping it all over the place, dropping the N-bomb.
Yeah.
And how it's like, and I know Claremont grew up in Israel for a while, so I don't know. I'm just saying, it's like maybe.
I mean, but that's just it. Like, don't use this stuff as a shock vehicle. Have a real story to tell.
Exactly. It's like that, the idea of having, bigotry and hatred, but the difference is like the whole X-Men is racism, bigotry, and homosexual and anti black bigotry. It's like to me it doesn't work for X-Men because like last time I checked, it's like a gay black man doesn't have laser power.
You can touch. I mean, my opinion is if you know what you're doing, touch on the subjects all you want. Do it, but you gotta. I guess my point, you gotta treat it with care. It cannot be a shock value moment where you're gonna try and lend emotional weight to your story by throwing something in, which is often how it feels. Like, it's like, hey, this story needs to seem like a serious. Like we did arcade in the last issue, and it was hijinks and craziness, and in this issue we want to make it more serious. So let's touch on racism. It's like that's not a good reason to touch on racism. What's a good reason is if you got a really good story to tell and you're going to do something good with it, but you can't just throw this. You shouldn't throw stuff. You can of course do whatever you want, but you just it's
think about it a little. Just think about it a bit.
Yeah. No. It's just think about what you're doing a little bit. Make your metaphors good. Put some time and care into it, and then tell your story and do a good job. And generally speaking, nobody complains. I mean, there's somebody's always going to complain about something, but if you just do a good story, it's fine. And when I say good story, it's not my judgment of what's good or bad. It's like if you're telling a solid story or not. I think DC knew that their Superman Smashes a Klan book was thought through, put together, went through editing, became a good thing, and it sold well. Like Big Shock, if you put the effort into things, it sells well and it's good. Meanwhile, the backup story in Batgirl 50 does not sell well. It's like none of this is a surprise to anybody, or it shouldn't be anyway.
I think the best take on this whole thing was and somebody mentioned the World Comics Review in the chat. Mentioned EC, and the EC story, I believe it was Wally Wood drawing it. The one where basically that's what I ripped off. It's like there's robots building each other, and the red robots, blue robots, and then they're racist against the blue robots. So they don't matter. They're second class citizens. They're basically slave labor. And then this astronaut that looks kind of robotic is because of his suit. He takes his helmet off as a black man. And so it's like this, I see how you are, that kind of thing. And it was cleverly done. It's clever comics. It's like this, it doesn't, it comes in many forms. It's one of those things like the hatred comes in many forms, or the bigotry. And I was like, well done. And it's 50s though. And then of course, they had to basically get shuttered because of the Kefauver hearings and all that. So,
well, on a lighter note,
they massacred my boy, my Dustin Weaver. I actually like Dustin Weaver's work.
Great. I like Dustin Weaver. Yeah.
The Shield book that he did with Hickman, which took forever to finish. There was some kind of weird. I think that was some Bendis stuff in the back. Nobody has told me the straight story, or I haven't read it, and probably there's a lot of people just whatever. Don't want to talk ill, but Shield was an amazing book with Nathan Richards and Howard Stark.
Yeah.
And it was the kind of the secret. It's basically Da Vinci Code, but with literally Leonardo da Vinci, and there's celestials and ancient cities and cosmic people, what have you, and time traveling mechanical cyborg Nikola Tesla, which is great. And it was a great comic. And Dustin Weaver's work is amazing usually, but your covers shouldn't. Granted, these are variant covers. These are, but they look like piss. The background.
Oh, now come on!
It's piss. You look at it. Tell me how
it is tough. Yeah, it is tough. As the conversation is going on in the chat, by the way, as it's continuing going, I think that there's a lot of good points being made by people. I'm not just saying that to be Mr. Gentle, but it is true. This Collecting Chaos points out something that always bugged me, is that the comics were handling, we're tackling kind of brave social issues, and then Hal's calling this sidekick this name. I mean, it's like you gotta you got to be consistent. If you're doing that, I mean, at the very least, try and be consistent. You can't, anyway, but regardless, yeah, new costume for Amazing Spider-Man, fighting the Kingpin and Norman Osborn, because the Green Goblin has been really underused over the last several years. So getting old Green Goblin Norman Osborn back in the mix seems like, why not? I did appreciate that this week I don't. There's people who have probably not read the comic this week, but I do appreciate that old Nick Spencer references one of the most infamous Spider-Man stories of all time. That's not One More Day. So you have that to look forward to. I don't know, this costume. It, like a lot of people are saying, this feels like a video game skin to me.
Not even a good one. This is like some intern did it. This is really not okay. I'll break it down as far as me, who clearly I don't know how to draw at all. I'm a terrible artist. I do terrible things. Nobody reads my comics. Nobody will. Look, you're just hating on Marvel. Whatever. I don't care. Well, I say I don't care. I do care. Whatever. What have you. I'm just in my personal opinion. Okay, it's overly designed. You're looking at the booties. He's got extra booties at the bottom. It's kind of like weird. It looks like the bottom of a stocking. And then you have this yellow highlight ribbon of energy, kind of Tron-like.
It's gravity. I mean, this is gravity, isn't it?
The gravity. Oh, no, yeah.
I mean, gravity. Like this isn't Spider-Man, it's gravity. Like, why do you steal Gravity's suit?
Oh my God, this is like some Slingers level garbage, ain't it?
It's I don't know.
What have you?
I'm sure there'll be a great reason for all of this.
But it's so overly designed. Like, that's something about Spider-Man costumes. Like, the most overly designed, the farthest as far as over design goes, I actually enjoy is the Spider-Man 2099 design. But it's not Peter Parker. It's Miguel O'Hara. Actually, my favorite Spider-Man. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but it's like Miguel O'Hara, Ben Reilly, and then like Peter Parker down there. I'll take May Parker over Peter Parker any day. But the extra lines in the arms going down the kind of like half white glove, like I'm a rocker biker glove kind of thing, like that right there is weird. The detached bottom of the spider, body with the legs extending down. This is like nightmare to draw. This looks like it was done by committee. And then the welding goggle eyes that you kind of look. It's just, I would never want to draw this. It's like, I'm going to draw this, I quit.
It's going to be tough I think, for people to, I don't know. There's a reason for it, I'm sure. Maybe it's a stealth suit at some point. I don't know what's going on here, but anyway, I'm sure it'll be here and gone before we know it. So, I like that you've got old J. Jonah Jameson driving maybe a Prius with a sunroof. I guess that's all right.
Looks like a Tesla. Looks like a Tesla to me or something. Maybe it's a Prius.
I don't. Yeah, well, he's eco-friendly podcaster now. But does he have 10,000 subs? Okay. Anyway, all right. So here's a question. I said we'll do two of these real quick for people. It's I'm curious what people in the chat. So your dream art team for Spider-Man. You are. Let's pretend for the moment you're at Marvel. You have an unlimited checkbook. You're going to do a year's run of something. Who are you putting on? Who are you putting on that book for Spider-Man?
Okay, folks. Okay, in the chat, one for McFarlane.
Yeah.
Two.
Or invent your own. We've just got.
Or invent your own. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So like one McFarlane. That's what we meet a singer, correct? In the second one.
Yes, definitely. We got a McFarlane. We've got a Ditko.
Was that Ditko?
That's Ditko, and that's.
I haven't seen that one. I'm thinking, well, that doesn't seem that familiar. Okay, so Ditko. So resurrect Steve Ditko.
There is Mike Zeck,
and then Mark Bagley. So one for McFarlane, two for Ditko, three for Zeck, four for Bagley.
Or invent your own, honestly.
Five for Romita Jr. I'm going Romita Jr. number 5.
You're going for Romita Jr. Okay, excellent.
The reason I go for Romita Jr. because his best work was on Spider-Man. Him and Scott Hanna doing some amazing work.
Yeah.
And even when they were doing that terrible Clone Saga, the last issue of the Clone Saga, when Ben Reilly dies and the whole your daughter, we lost your daughter, clearly Green Goblin stole her, and then the Lost Years 3-issue mini, well, it's really 4 because there's 0 issue. That's my favorite part of the Clone Saga, where Peter Parker's on the road, Bruce Bannering it, and Kane comes up, which is funny. Kane, the brother, the clone, the scarred clone brother, comes to hunt down Peter Parker. A couple years later, WWF introduces Kane,
Oh, sure.
scarred brother with long hair, long curly hair.
I just think Sean Murphy asked this question. I was with him on it. Like, if you're Marvel, like, you should have one project a year, and rather than throw that money, Stuart Immonen. Yes, I think Stuart did a great Spider-Man. But anyway, I would love for Marvel once a year to just get the Dream Art team. Go to Todd McFarlane, give him something. Like, give him like the craziest page rate in the world. See if he take it. Just give us something once a year that is just the dream team on a book. Todd McFarlane was not my favorite Spider-Man. I liked it. I'm always partial to Mike Zeck here and several others. Daniel Close as well. There's some really
Daniel
good
Close Spider-Man. Oh my God, that was that was actually really fun. Like, off the wall stuff. Like someone in who said it right now and later. Jay Lee's Spider-Man would be pretty good. One I really wouldn't have, but of course they never followed it up on it. Imagine this, and I'll put this in your mind. 2 issues. We have Stan Lee. You need Stan Lee.
Sure.
Mobius on Spider-Man.
Oh, that would be great. He did some Spider-Man, and it was great.
Yeah, the art where there's like a broken pillar, and he's in there in the spider webs. I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful. That actually, I think that should be better than the Silver Surfer Parable. Actually,
it's actually it's great. I am forgetting what am I saying? Oda, who does One Piece, has made comments like he'd love to do a Spider-Man story. I would love to see that as well.
Oh, who you said again?
Oda from One Piece, the creator of One Piece.
Oh my God! No, that right there. Holy hell! Like that joke piece I did with Miss Marvel and Spider-Woman and stuff. That would be I could see that.
I'd love to see something.
Like you need it'd be so fun. Like that's what they should just do. Like go over how Vince McMahon would bought out like Hulk Hogan from AWA and all the other stuff. Marvel should just go in and buy a bunch of like mid to lower tier mangaka and just put them on like Spider-Man and all this stuff and just tell them hey, you got Kira Yoshida there. You could have him translate and say, just tell one story. There you go.
So many good things I'd love to see. I'd love to see some of this stuff. But along this line, so like I said, we'll do 2 of these. So we'll pick like the 2 most well-known, folks overall. But I'm really enjoying over on Twitter. I posted a very generic comics for everyone. I appreciate that I'm pissing off both groups. Groups
of
like,
Canada,
they're like, no, they're not. No, it's funny. It's just good stuff.
Well, that's the thing. That's so weird. The fact that you piss both hardcore members.
It makes me laugh.
There's people in I don't really like Comicsgate. There's people I don't know. I'm Comicsgate, but the fact that you piss off the hardcores on both sides, you're doing something right. It's
fun. It makes me laugh. This Daniel Warren Johnson, I would love to see him do like he just did for Wonder Woman Dead Earth, which is quite good. And then here's a disagreement. So Brave, disagree. Importing big names isn't a magic weapon. No, I'm not. It isn't. I wouldn't do it forever. I wouldn't do it for an ongoing series. I'm talking do one shot. I mean, you blew the money for J.J. Abrams and Son. Let's see like one classic team come back, do that OGN, do this big prestige format thing, do one of those a year, and I just said let's see it, put it out there. It would be great. It would
Give
be
me
great.
3 issues, 24 pages each. You can put them out as individual issues. Let's say like a couple variant. Of course, there's going to be a couple variant covers. Then you can put them out oversized, collected. You can put hardcover, soft cover. Make them and do like one of those kind of it wasn't artist editions, but the Outcast #1, I believe it was. They did it's kind of a artist presentation. It was like not artist edition, but it was like 11x17 original art presentation, basically bigger than tabloid, bigger than those like 2001 Treasury editions, stuff like that for the comic. So if you want a bigger version, basically selling the same thing repeatedly, but in different formats, so it's not as bad. But
as Brandon's putting up here, I mean, this is a team I'm probably looking. I'm really looking forward to seeing Jacinta and Booth do a couple issues of this new X-Men title. I think that's going to be pretty cool. But I love Brett Booth. I think he's a great guy. He's been on the show, absolutely wonderful. But I have to admit, Walt and Weezy doing an X Factor story next year for a couple issues. I cannot wait for that. That is absolutely the team I want in
I don't
2021.
want to get my hopes up because I want to love this stuff. But I'm gonna keep
It's
calm.
gonna happen.
That right there, both Walt and Weezy both working on a book.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately they are up in age, and it's like I don't want to get my hopes up that
it'll be fine. It's going to be good. Don't even just nothing but good thoughts. It's going to be great.
I'll shut up.
I'm just going to absolutely love it. Walt's been doing some work lately. His Ragnarok book is great. He is not.
I still gotta get that. I thought they were putting out. I think they were putting out. Did they put out an omnibus of that, or am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. Maybe there's a collection, but
I thought they were doing it. I thought they were doing some omnibus, so I was gonna wait for that, but I don't know.
I'll review some of that because that Ragnarok book is wonderful, and Wheezy is still absolutely has the skills. It's going to be great. I'm just going to hold on to that. I want to see it. And
if you're a fan of Walt Simonson, you should pick up honestly, outside of Kirby, the best New Gods story, the Orion omnibus that DC put out.
Yeah,
oh my God, is it amazing? Like, everybody talks about, Grant Morrison even did the whole anti-life equation stuff, and everybody plays with all that. Walt delivers with that story. It's beautiful. Oh, absolutely beautiful.
All right, so one more of these. We can get some classic comics on this weird. So favorite, so your dream art team for Batman. So same question. What are you doing for Batman?
Okay, we got Jim Lee, Neil Adams. Who's number 3?
Perez.
Perez, Batman. Not Norm Brayfogle? Okay. That's the personal opinions aside.
Well, no. This is literally, so this is not trying to guide anyone. This is me going to Google and taking the first 4 images that come up.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You're not having to pick from this list. So
okay.
Brayfogle is great for sure.
Okay. Dream art team for Batman. Oh my God. What's his name? Damn it. What's his name? He did Chris Samney. Chris Samney. Because not only is I go for not just good looking art, but consistent. And he's a consistent artist. He does this Daredevil art was the best thing about that book. Because that book was basically Spider-Man 2.0. I mean, It did not read like Daredevil, but wow, that would be great. I would go with Samney. Jim Lee or Gleason. I see that. Sam Keith does have Batman books out there. Batman Max books, folks.
He does. Absolutely.
I'm not too keen on him. I'm not a fan of his current style, but hey, whatever floats your boat. Tim Vigil. Okay, Perch, do you watch the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know. I'm not gonna blow up their spot. I don't think they care, but they had a bootleg Batman XXX video up of Tim Vigil's Batman. It's the best damn Batman book I've ever seen.
Okay, I'll have to look for that.
Without the adult material, the cape, the body language, the look, Batman looks fierce, demonic, but without being like, overly like truly demonic. But I'm telling you, he looks like a terror in the night. And the best Joker I've ever seen too. It's like, if it wasn't for the fact that there's a lot of adult material in that it's like 9 pages or something, I believe. Like, it is incredibly done. Yeah, Tim Vigil is one of those characters. If you've ever read Faust came up before Spawn, but basically it was kind of like Spawn before Spawn in some regards. And you got EO, the sickest. That's the sickest comic I've ever read. It's only 2 issues supposed to be for EO, letter E, letter O, and don't look it up. Don't do that to your life.
Well, one of the names that hasn't come up here, but it's one of my favorite Batman renditions was in Gotham Guy Gaslight. I think Michael Mignola did a great Batman as well.
90s Mignola, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
20 teens, 2020 Mike Mignola. His art has gotten so simplified. It's basically just a bunch of potato people. I love it, but it's potato people. Everybody's so lumpy. I like it for what it is, but it's like, I'm like, this ain't the same Mignola. This isn't Gotham by Gaslight. This isn't Bram Stoker's Dracula. This isn't the early days of Hellboy. Like, if you look at Hellboy volume, like the library edition for volume 1, and then Hellboy in Hell, or Hellboy Goes to Hell, it just is not the same. It's like, it's night and day difference. You still see it to me, but it's like night and day. It's like bright and there's dark, and then there's like bad vision. It's like I got cataracts or something. It's not great. I love it, but it's like it's not the same. I wish I'd never seen his older stuff if I hadn't, because I couldn't compare it.
It's good stuff. So in the future, we'll do some of these for like Green Lantern and Green Arrow and other characters. It's a cool thing to kind of think about, but it's good stuff. Sad Ribic, that would be a good one too. So in terms of some comics that came out this week in months past, I mean, how can we forget the cowboy riding Superman like a horse? Yeah. No, probably the more important ones there are Andrew McLean. Yes. Daredevil. By the way, nobody ever has to apologize for things they post in my video, please. And I hope nobody. I am not the kind of person who doesn't like to be disagreed with. I like to be disagreed with. So please, if you disagree, point out where I'm wrong. I can take it. B, that's I tend to learn things that way. So I appreciate it. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to be I mean, if you come out and just like are a complete dick about it, that's I might ignore it, but I promise I do like the disagreement. Anyway, regardless of that, hey, Bullseye versus Elektra. This is obviously a very classic comic. We've got the Inferno meeting of the X-Men and X-Factor, Storm in her crazy Mad Max outfit there. But that's Superman being ridden by a cowboy. That is the...
Let's take stuff. I mean, nobody's ever... Daredevil, Elektra, Bullseye. Who cares about that? Now, cowboy riding Superman. Now that's the hot shit.
Yeah. He's the most rambunctious bronc he ever rode, but he's going to break him. Does he break him? This is.
That sounds so. The internet has ruined
so much. Yeah,
it ruined so much. Like that right there. It's like he's going to break.
I love these. I mean, I always. And that is actually the Twin Towers there in the shot. I guess I just noticed. So.
Oh no.
Yeah, we can't get away from it. Anyway, the
vision cannot melt steel fiends.
No. We're gonna go out happy. But this is what Superman always did in this era, was like I always have questions. Like you see these covers and you're like, how did they get here? And then you would anyway. Good stuff. Meanwhile, we get we get Tigra here, pre-classic issue of Spider-Man.
That's Marvel Team Up is one of those comics that does not get talked about nowhere near as much. There are so that and I forgot the name. I'm blanking. It's the when Thing it was Thing talking to Sandman. Is that 2-in-1? Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's or Marvel Team Up. Or is it 2-in-1? It's one or the other. I get confused, but yeah, but especially Marvel Team Up is one of those books that just does not seem to get as much love as it should. And Tigra, back in the day, she got so much more love. I mean, they loved their furry cat women.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I like this combo. We got that one. We have we have ourselves a basically Shazam. Captain Marvel is wondering why all the superheroes have ditched their clothes and are running around naked. Is what's going on that one.
Rapture.
There's some kind of, it's either the rapture or there's some kind of crazy orgy going on in the Hall of Justice right now.
With Captain Marvel, played by Kirk Cameron. Yeah. Left behind. Left behind.
And that very moody Web of Spider-Man book that had a really nice cover brought a lot of people in. That was Vest, I believe. That was Charles
Vest. Yeah, it's like that. Back before it's a living suit. It's a sentient suit that's going to take over Eddie Brock. So
yeah, that was some good stuff there. And then of course, we have the New Mutants coming out of the grave. I believe this was Art Adams. I'm reasonably sure.
I believe so too.
Yeah, and then we got Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew. Who could forget about that? I like how that's made a complete comeback. Like it seems like every DC writer wants to do something with Captain Carrot now in the last 5 years. I don't know. Do I do a video ranking furry Catwoman comics? That probably won't go well.
Or it goes really well and you get a whole brand new audience, my friend.
Yeah, that's true. I could. That's how I get to 20,000 right there.
There you go.
And then here's the new X-Men issue where Jean loses her head. Or no, sorry. Magneto loses his head. Jean gets space strokes.
Oh yeah, electromagnetic. You're going to be stroked out. Which doesn't. Well, Poorly put words, put it that way. But great cover. It's Phil Jimenez. Where is Phil Jimenez? We haven't seen him in a long time. Is he
He's
still doing
expensive now, apparently. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Tiger. That's right. Tiger was great as a mentor. That was a good role for her. That was back when Christos Gage was the actual writer on the book. And
and he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't the pickup man. He's picking up and cleaning up Dan Slott's mess.
Oh, true. As Joe points out, that was Zorn, not Magneto. We only just thought it was Magneto because it looked like Magneto was calling himself Magneto, but it was Zorn. It was not Magneto. Anyway,
Magneto was really Magneto.
We'll get to that in retrospective.
Which, oh god,
Anyway.
Spoiler.
Yeah,
Zorn is Magneto. Oh, here we go, son. Here we go. Now this is my jam. I actually had all of these right here. Okay. DC versus Marvel. That right there, the Wolverine Lobo, where they basically bang it out behind the bar, which,
yep.
Which is, God, what that right there is the lamest. Hey, who would beat who of comics ever? It's so unfortunate. It could have been better because nobody wanted to be jobbed out. You know, it just seemed like nobody wanted to get really jobbed out. So it's so unfortunate.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everybody had to be kind of a winner in their own way, except like. I don't know there was a couple characters you could just tell neither company cared at all. It's like the race between is like Flash and Quicksilver, and I recall Flash won that, right? And anyway there was a couple characters where it's like, well, even here they're not trying to protect anyone. It's all
about fighting. It's the WCW invasion angle,
yeah,
you know, but just as bad. And, yeah. It felt like it is like a dead fish on a deck of a boat. But we got Gen 13.
Yeah, Gen 13.
You got. Oh my God, it's so funny. Like to see this stuff. Oh my God, it's like that's one thing people forget. Gen 13 is now owned by DC, but you see the characters pop up now and then. But I don't think you'll ever see that collection. I think it might have lost the original films because people don't realize this. A lot of comics, if they don't have the original films, the color film of the comics when they printed them, they have to use scans. That's why some of these comic reproductions are terrible because they basically just scan in printed comics, not the original, basically negatives. It's like when they do restorations, like from the 2K, original 2K scan of the negative or inner positive, what have you. But yeah,
and I had forgotten that Tim Drake got to make out with Jubilee.
You know what? That's not. Honestly, Jubilee's better than Spoiler. I'm sorry, as far as girlfriend potential goes.
Oh no, Ian!
I knew I was messing.
Ian's not in the chat. Somewhere in like a room somewhere, he just had like this shutter just cross over his.
I know that one. I was just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
X-Men Alpha. Oh, I love that book.
Age of Apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just so funny. It's like that Joe Mad cover, and you had this just a bizarre like that Magneto. That's my favorite Magneto design. Sunfire, best Sunfire, Wolverine without a hand, and the face tattoos, and oh God Almighty, it's a Blink. Oh, Blink.
Yeah, some good stuff. Oh. We will definitely have to do the Omaha the Cat Dancer retrospective. Yes, I do.
I actually have read Omaha the Cat Dancer.
Yeah,
I did not realize what it was. I was like, "You read a furry comic?" I was like, "What's a furry?" And this is before I knew what a furry was.
Yeah, this was back when it was like, "Hey, it's a cat dancer," and then later you're like, "Oh, I feel gross." Yeah.
It's like to me, it was like Fritz the Cat. It's like, okay, so it's like a kind of take on that a little bit, in that similar vein. And I'm reading it, and it's like, wow, this is like a HBO show. It reads like like a HBO, what have you. But
yeah.
Oh my God! That's good stuff in there.
Yeah, there's Speedball. Yeah, good stuff in Speedball. I always like how Marvel tried to make Carrion a threat, and it was like the character is never a threat. But anyway, some good stuff. Like I said, I like if you can't probably see it on the screen, but Khazar, everybody's naked on that cover. Like it. It is like this. Everybody's nude. There's no clothing at all going on there. And
more tiger love over there with that Spider-Woman cover.
Yeah. Well, and I think the Khazar, the guy on that has a tail. Like anyway. Sorry, there's a lot going on here with these comics, but anyway. All good stuff. By the way, I was speaking somewhat of Omaha. I did have a chance to chat with the creative team who does Cherry, Larry Welts and his wife, and they gave me some good info. So I'm going to put up some more stuff on that and that comic. What they wanted to communicate and is, I should have done in my original video, is they are producing new comics. So they're actually are continuing that book.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they are putting out new comics, and they actually have a Peach Momoko variant cover for their comic, legit, for Cherry, that you can go check out and look at. I'll tell you, that blew my mind a little bit. So it's good stuff. They're definitely continuing that brand and putting content out, and they're excited to do it. And it's Cherry Pop-Tart. That's right. So that's some stuff out there, and their websites there. You can order merch and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But man, nice people. So anyway, crazy.
Yeah, it's like I look forward to I look forward to content like that where you get to update, find out more that hey, there's people who've been doing these comics for a while still doing them, and like that's actually it's like when Steve Ditko was doing his comics for the longest time. Pretty much people were oblivious to that because it was just Robin Snyder putting the stuff out, Ditko in a way. But the fact that he was still doing all the way up to pretty much when he died, to me, that's impressive. That's that bug. It's like I'm not just doing comics to find the work and doing storyboards for movie industry or TV shows like that. To me, that's soul crushing.
Oh yeah,
that idea. It's like, hey, do that to supplement your income. Okay, I get it, but it's like the likes of J. Scott Campbell and Joe Madden. These people that work in video games and they do prints and commissions and stuff. I get that. That's where you got to make your money. But it's like you don't have time to do comic every year or two. It's like just like a one shot or something. Like
I'm glad they're still putting stuff out. It was nice. The quality of the work looked like it always has. It looked good. It looked right in line, and
keep it out of kids' hands though.
yeah, absolutely. But it's good stuff. They're very, very friendly, and it was funny because I think they're like, well, we want to correct you. We're actually making new comics, and I felt like the biggest ass, because I didn't know, but they are making new comics. They have stuff for sale, and like I said, the variants are up there. And yeah, Peach Momoko, who's now a Marvel Stormbreaker, is doing variant covers for Cherry Pop-Tart. So it's good stuff. Anyway,
robbing the potential of Better Rate Bill, taking his makes some unique way. What's next? Calling people betas.
There you go.
A raise.
It is.
Oh God, it's terrible. I sound like I'm drunk. I'm not.
No, you sound fine. It's all. It is. We're all like, I don't know. It's weird to think that we're basically 2 days away from the end of the year. What a bizarre year of nothing and everything simultaneously. So I'm very glad to be done with it. I appreciate, by the way, everybody coming and hanging out. We won't go too much longer. It's been 2 hours, and it's a Wednesday night stream. So
keep putting up with me long enough, man. It's like, get him out of here.
No, Larry is, and Larry and I will have some stuff to announce very, very shortly. So
yes, soon, whenever.
Very soon.
It's on Perch's shoulders. It's like it's on his hands. I'll say this year,
it's all going to shit now.
I'll say this though. There's good news about the Cherry Pop-Tart creators. I'm so happy that this year, even though this year was shit, no surprise there. It's 2020, but as far as this year goes, I produced my comic, Flapjack, Grave Concerns. I produced my comic Monsters, The Hive. I produced my 80-page digest, my Rutung Adventures, which the cover image, part of the cover image is my icon, my lead character Rutung, a wandering knight, sellsword knight. Basically, hey, he needs money. He will go kill a monster for you, or if he feels bad enough, he'll do it. Kind of similar vein to like Vampire Hunter D, Conan the Barbarian, stuff like that. So in this past year, I also did a Redux version of my Neon Trash comic and a couple other things, and I've done north of like 200 pages of comics this year, which is probably one of my more productive. And actually, not just mini comics and stuff, or quick dashed out stuff, but quality stuff. And I think 2021 is going to be even bigger year for that. Stuff that I can talk about, stuff I can't, but I'm really happy because I produced. And it's like I wanted to make that happen, and hopefully anybody that's listening that wants to make comics, make them. If somebody tells you suck, don't listen to them, or listen to them. You know what? If you think you can't hang with it, quit. That's very demotivational. But you know what? If you want to prove them wrong, prove them wrong. You want to stick with it, stick with it. But make them. Don't talk about, oh, I'm going to do this comic. Just do it. Just don't. It's this idea of, and also be consistent.
Absolutely. Get started and put it out.
My personal opinion, please, for the love of God, don't say you're going to do a 300-page graphic novel, because you'll never get that done. I've heard that's happened so many times. Oh, my first comic's will be 300-page graphic novel. I'm like, you ain't never doing that. I ain't never seen somebody do that, though.
I have got 40 pages to go to complete what I'm doing, and it's too long. I mean, I'm glad I'm getting it done, but it's long.
You learn your lessons, man. Because this is, I'm not mistaken, this is your first. I think I try to be encouraging to certain people. It's like I'm not some, like, I've had people, they want to, like, oh, I think about quitting comics. I'm like, yeah, quit. We don't need you. Go. Like, if you that's
see that rock, Larry.
But it's like, I feel like a drill instructor sometimes in that regard. It's like, if you have to be dragged to the finish line, and you can't pick yourself up and carry yourself there, quit. It's like, officer and a gentleman. Why don't you quit, Larry? I got no place else to go.
No, keep at it. You could do great stuff, and I'm glad to see all these people who are out making comics and make it for the, you're not making them to teach somebody else a lesson. You're making them to get something out in the world, and that's great. Jamie, so he's asking, I am old, but I was a kid during these periods. So Crisis on Infinite Earths was, so I'm looking at this from a kid perspective a little bit. And it was Crisis was one of those comics that was, at the time, I think irritated people. I think the spectacle of it all, and the fact that they had some big names who came in right after that, kind of mitigated that to some extent. But what I remember most about Crisis is that for years afterward, people bitched about what it did and kind of the changes it made. And it's just, there were a lot of people who complained. So I don't know if the fan reaction was really, super on board or not while it was going on, but after the fact, it was a source of many an argument. And I think is probably one of the reasons why we got that irritating Silver Surfer argument always in the shop from that guy. But the Monica Rambeau is a more interesting one. So there was, as far as I'm aware of, and what I saw, and then certainly after the fact, Monica Rambeau had, some people complaining that they weren't bringing back Marvel, but generally the character was fairly well accepted. I mean, she was people's favorite Avenger for a while. And that storyline in that book where they built her up and then she got to be a leader and kind of everything else. I mean, Monica was very much a solid Marvel character that people liked and appreciated and accepted. And I think, if anything, were more angry when they put her on the shelf and when they went through the injury angle and all the rest with her. I think that it really irritated people. And so I think I think Monica Rambeau was actually pretty well received. I know the buildup and all that was well received. So it's good stuff.
It's organic growth, and that's the thing. They introduced her, and she uses her feminine wiles. She has this amazing power, but she uses her feminine wiles. She gets aboard a boat, does some little spy stuff. It goes south, then she uses her powers. And her mother, father, and dealing with family. And I know the Captain Marvel movie, it's like, oh, she's a single, being raised by a single mother or something, I believe. It's like not the same. It's, different. It's movie. But the comic's always better until it's not. Like Legion. Legion's a better character in the show than he is in the comics. But
yeah, true.
But yeah, like with Monica, they built her up, and there's a great, I believe it's, I want to say it's Avengers Annual number 10. I think that's the one. Yeah, that's the one, the Miss Marvel one. I'm pretty sure. You have that scene where Carol is there, and it's like, oh, here's Captain Marvel, and Carol was like, who? Because this is back when she was binary. I think she's binary by that point, I believe.
I think so.
But this is one where basically they confront, it's like, oh yeah, like, and Thing is like, don't take no offense, Carol. It's like, yeah, she's Captain Marvel, and then Monica's like, I don't know who this other Marvel is, because she didn't. Captain Marvel is not like this this is pre-internet, Marvel universe, and not everybody knew all these other characters. Like, and so Carol's upset because Marvel died, battling cancer because of nitro and everything, and he stayed dead, thankfully. And you have this. Like this idea that she, in a way, had to prove herself still. It's like not everybody loved her. and then she was not like knew everything. Like when she gets trapped in this like almost like a phantom zone, she's gonna find her way out. And I forgot the character, but she basically this during the Under Siege arc where she's like flying through this like at the speed of light through this like negative dimension, and it finds a way out, and it's like in San Diego, and it's like whoa, like this hero has like I forgot the character's name. He's like kind of like a variant on Cloak, and like basically flies out of his chest. He's like, whoa, what are you doing here? It's kind of funny, but it's like it's funny in the action, but not like I don't think the intent. But and then that's when Hercules gets curb stomped by the Masters of Evil, and Masters of Evil beat Jarvis nearly to death. Oh God,
great arc, great line. Yeah, one of the best Avengers runs.
Avengers story ever, my hands down. But so we got fantastic. Oh my goodness gracious, we got some good stuff up there.
Yep, there's that 2-in-1 thing in the stand. Yeah,
but man, Howard the Duck can't go wrong.
It was always. I mean, it was an interesting time where those characters kind of came into the mix, and it's some good stuff. Morley, as you are saying, is Walking Dead the ceiling for indie comic success? No, I don't think so. I think it set a new bar for people to come up, and it's probably is the if things remain the same, if there's not change, if the lessons aren't learned from kind of what Manga's doing, what YA is doing, and everything else, I definitely think there's room for it to go higher. I absolutely do. But and in many ways, I have to believe that. But I do think there's plenty of room for it to go higher, but it won't go higher. That is the ceiling. If everybody just keeps doing exactly what they're doing, then I think I think we'll be lucky to get there, frankly, again. But anyway, some nice stuff. And Marvel Comics Presents. This is when they were getting kind of some legitimate creators. I mean, some bigger name creators to do stories in there, which was pretty nice.
It leads to some amazing stories. We got classic Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith, which is the origin that should have just stayed the origin no more. It messes with you. It doesn't give you a definite this is actually happening because the whole story is about messing with his head. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then we had Quesada's like, nah, we got to give him origin. Yeah, like Harris like, yeah, we got to give him bone claws and all that kind of stuff. And like, oh God. But yeah, then there's the 2-in-1, the one with the Thing and Sandman. Which is where Sandman has a face turn in wrestling terms, folks. I love the wrestling in comics is perfect because Sandman has a face turn.
It's true.
There was a team up, the one where Black Goliath is told like, we know you're black. You don't have to say you don't have to call yourself Black Goliath. This is before Bill Foster gets killed in Civil War. And
I also want to
buried a giant grave.
I don't know if Joe has left us, but I got to point out that the Impossible Man is there and the Thing and Sandman issue. We got an appearance of the Impossible Man, who is Joe's favorite character. That's what I understand. Yeah, we. So then we're wrapping up here. We got just a couple. This is when you could put Scalp Hunter on a comic and it wasn't going to make people insane. But this was the West betrayed him and now he returns. That's some crazy stuff. There's a lot of wacky material here, including we've got Super Friends down there.
Yeah, Super Friends. That's the Super Friends stuff. It was okay. It never really clicked with me. So unfortunately,
yeah.
But I mean, it's we got Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. The Brave and the Bold, Batman, Plastic Man. Yeah. I mean, there's some good,
Cosmic Boy and not an embarrassing costume.
Where it doesn't look like flesh. That was always a weird one. Like who said, yeah, let's go with that cover.
Yeah. Here's the night the mob stole Christmas in Brave and the Bold. It's like how they're just wailing on people, while Santa's like just waving in the background on some kind of military vehicle. That's
season speedings for everyone.
It's good. I don't know. It's some fun stuff. So and the calculator, can't go wrong with the calculator.
Well, I mean, I like what they did with him. Updated him to be like kind of the information broker, planning stuff out, like all that. I actually dug that. That was actually one of the kind of character updates that worked.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time seeing him, but it's been a while since I've read a steady stream of DC books. But outside of like Hawkman,
it's fun to look back on that stuff, and it's fun to look back on. We have 2020 rolling away, and we're going to 2021. So we have that to look forward to. Things are looking up, right?
You know what?
It's picture is telling us.
it's the way you go into things. I honestly think that we're kind of the way you approach life and the way you approach things. Like you can come at it with like everything's dour, everything's terrible, and there should be things like, well, Larry, you just said that everybody's terrible, and you're hypocrite. And I'm like, yeah, we're all hypocritical, to a degree. But I think that 2021 will be easy. No, but nothing ever really is. But I think it'll be a good year for us. I mean, and and hopefully will be a good year for all of you listening.
Yeah.
And we've been through some trying times, a very, very trying time.
It has been a crazy time. Hopefully, as we all know, this year it gave us the opportunity to all get a lot closer together and really work on our understanding and our communication. So
when you're not being 6 feet apart with things of your face to hide your identity, that joke that people are gonna, kids, 10 years from now are gonna have like fears of smiling of people's smiles and teeth. It's like they're gonna act like chimpanzees or monkeys when like if you smile at them they freak out and attack you.
Yep.
Hey, at least you live to the next role. There you go.
At least, yeah, it is. It's been a crazy year. Caleb just arrived as we're closing down. So sorry, man.
Caleb, get out.
But hey,
nothing
ever ends. Nothing ever ends. We are always. We will continue. So off into the new year. Again, I want to thank everybody for pushing it over 10,000. That is absolutely lunatic crazy to me. That's not what I thought was going to happen. I'm not saying that out of modesty. I'm saying that out of zero chance that this was going to happen.
I think I looked. I clicked on it. It's like March of 2018 is when this channel started.
Yeah, I first started doing videos on April 1st, public, and that was that really set the brand for what I was going to do.
It's all a joke. It's all a big joke.
Yeah. It's all for fun. No, it is meant to be fun. Like I said, I don't take this stuff seriously, but what I do take seriously is kind of your question, your support. That sounds cheesy, but I do mean it. All of you guys give me friends to talk to throughout this whole year and everything else. It's awesome. I love kind of all the people, customer to creator that have chimed in. And and thank you, Larry and Joe and everybody who has helped throughout this year. Wes certainly, who deserves some big congratulations for the year. And well, next year is going to be fun. I'm going to basically get drunk starting early tomorrow and then just work that through the weekend.
2020, the year where day drinking is okay.
That's
but
right.
I have to say before we close out, I truly appreciate all that you do. And the thing about it is you're not going out of your way to do anything in particular. It's just you are being yourself. You're not trying to please, any algorithm, any people, get on the best side of anyone. You're just trying to be yourself, a decent human being. And, one person's decent human being is subjective to a degree. But I look at it this way. I think we are for you doing what you do with this channel, with your internet presence.
I take
take the compliment. Shut your mouth. No, that's a mess. I'm sorry about that. But no, it's like your presence. I honestly think you do make the world and our little comics world, this community, a better place because your willingness to hear people out. And maybe you're able to do that because of the booze in your system.
I don't want to hear out this compliment. Is what I don't want to hear.
But you're hearing it. I will hop on one of those plague planes, and I will go out west, my friend. I will take the Oregon Trail and not die of
so uncomfortable. No, I appreciate it. That's very nice of you to say, and
it's true though.
It's a team effort with everybody. It's been fun. We don't ever do everything right. I was. I went over the line in talking about people getting emotional for Wonder Woman. So that I shouldn't have done. But it is, everybody can make mistakes. The key is there's a lot of good comics to love and appreciate. And I hope that I hope there's a lot of good things next year. I know that there's some surprises coming your way. Definitely from your crew here. And thank you very, very much. And then tomorrow bright and early, join Joe and I are going to give you some comic ideas for the new year. You're going to love it. Chef's kiss. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, thank you all for stopping by. Thank you, Larry, for joining me tonight. Happy New Year, everybody, and take care of yourselves.